Chapter 4481. By the time Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest returned to the Azure Dragon School, the test was already more than half complete. There were only a dozen people left. At a glance, the waiting area was already filled with dozens of cultivators. At this moment, everyone was happily chatting with each other. They were all outstanding cultivators who had stayed behind. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest appeared, there was a moment of silence. Only after they sat down did the atmosphere return to normal. Maybe we were too high profile before, so they saw us as monsters. Xiren revealed a helpless expression. He could clearly feel that other than the six of them, the rest were from another camp. Shangguan Yingying glanced at Xiren. You still have the nerve to say that. The reason why we ended up like this was all because of you and Ao Ling Xiao. This matter has nothing to do with me. If you want to blame someone, blame your husband. Ao Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and gave Xiren a look that said, good luck. Xiren rolled his eyes. No sense of loyalty. Not long after, when all the cultivators had finished their tests, the male and female cultivators who were in charge of recording walked over. Immediately after, Manager Li of the Azure Dragon School appeared in everyone's line of sight. Manager Li was about 45 years old. He wore a black robe, and his face was solemn and handsome. His eyes were imposing without anger. Just looking at his sharp eyes made people feel fear. Welcome to the Azure Dragon School. From today onwards, you are all members of the Azure Dragon School. A loud and powerful voice slowly rang out. Manager Li's gaze swept across everyone. That sharp gaze of his seemed to be able to see through everything, causing everyone who was originally restless to immediately quiet down. The Azure Dragon School is a big family. Since you have all joined, you naturally have to understand the rules of the big family. The rules are very simple. Work hard to cultivate and increase your own strength. Don't go out and cause trouble. In the Azure Dragon School, I don't care how you fight. However, once you leave the Azure Dragon School, you are all from the same school. You're not allowed to fight outside. Even if there are conflicts within the school, you can fight. However, you're not allowed to use underhanded methods. Do you understand? Understood. Manager Li's every word smashed fiercely into everyone's hearts. That majestic and powerful voice made everyone not dare to resist in the slightest. However, right after he finished speaking, a smile bloomed on Manager Li's face. As long as you don't make any mistakes, our Azure Dragon School is still very friendly to disciples. Cultivation resources are directly related to one's strength. Every month, there will be no shortage of cultivation resources for you. However, when you are required to complete a mission, you're not allowed to run away. Training is a path that every cultivator must go through, and it is also a way to improve. Yes, now, follow me to your residence. There's a number on your identity card, which is your house number. You can find your own residence on your own. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me, or you can ask your senior brothers and sisters. Looking at such a dignified Manager Li, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. This Manager Li's way of doing things was really swift and decisive. Thinking about it, since he was so strict, there shouldn't be many cultivators causing trouble in the Azure Dragon sect. Chapter 4482. The six of you, wait a moment. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but turn around, only to see Manager Li's gaze fall on them. Come with me. As soon as he finished speaking, Manager Li turned around and walked straight ahead. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others followed closely behind. They thought to themselves, I wonder what Manager Li wants to say to us. Inside the room, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood in a row and looked at Manager Li. They had already guessed what Manager Li wanted to say. Don't be nervous, sit down and have a cup of tea. A smile appeared on Manager Li's face, softening the cold and hard lines on his face. He became much warmer and gentler. I've called you here to have a chat. I heard that you originally wanted to join the Fiery Flames sect. Manager Li's tone was gentle. After noticing the complicated expressions on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' faces, he added, I don't mean anything by it. I just want to know why you didn't join the Fiery Flames sect and came to our Azure Dragon sect instead. Manager Li, you're very resourceful. I'm sure you already know about this matter. Di Baichen spoke slowly. His jade-black eyes rippled with the light of wisdom. We wanted to join the Fiery Flame sect because our eldest senior brother was there. However, Manager Wu of the Fiery Flame sect said that it wasn't the time for them to recruit disciples, so we came here. I see. Manager Lee nodded. According to the information that he had sent people to find out, the results were the same. Manager Lee, we went to the Fiery Flame sect because our senior brother was there. There was no other reason. When Xiren added, hearing this, Manager Lee smiled faintly and glanced at Xiren. He understood what he meant. I can understand this reason. However, from today onwards, you're a member of the Azure Dragon sect. Your relationship with Wanyan Han is your own matter. The Azure Dragon sect won't interfere. However, if Wanyan Han wants to use this relationship to rope you into the Fiery Flame sect, Manager Lee dragged out his words. He was almost certain that Wu Wenfeng did not know that these young people would have such results. Otherwise, he would not have missed out on such talents. However, after today's test, Wu Wenfeng must have received the news by now. He must be regretting it now. Since the talents had already come to their Azure Dragon sect, he could not let the Raging Flames school snatch them away. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others weren't stupid people. They naturally understood the meaning behind Manager Lee's words. They immediately expressed their stance. Manager Lee, since we've joined the Azure Dragon School, we're people of the Azure Dragon School. We definitely won't be disloyal. A satisfied smile appeared on Manager Lee's face. It's good that you understand. The Raging Flames school rejected you at the door, so it wouldn't be good for you to return. I can guarantee that you will receive the best cultivation resources in the Azure Dragon School. It definitely won't be any worse than the Raging Flame School. Following Manager Lee's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood up and bowed. Thank you, Manager Lee. We'll definitely work hard in cultivation and won't disappoint you. All right, you must be tired today. Go back and rest first. You can familiarize yourself with the Azure Dragon School's environment on the way. If there's anything you don't understand or need help with, feel free to look for me. Since you've come to the Azure Dragon School, this is your home. Chapter 4483. The beautiful color of the setting sun dyed the whole earth red, sprinkling on the bodies of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, elongating the shadows of the 6 people. Do you think stewardly believed what we said just now? Shangguan Yingying looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others as she walked. Her beautiful and fair face revealed a faint worry. Although what they said was the truth, people in positions of power were often paranoid. He will believe us. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with confidence. Even if he doesn't believe us, he will believe Steward Wu's reaction. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but frown. What do you mean? The Green Dragon sect and the Raging Flame sect have been fighting for so long. Steward Lee naturally understands Steward Wu's personality and style very well. As long as he sees Steward Wu's reaction, he will know the truth of the matter. Mo Yunjue's voice was calm and cold. His deep eyes rippled with the light of understanding. Oh, when Xiren suddenly understood, so that's how it is. Then according to what you said, we don't need to worry? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Don't worry, the innocent will know. Steward Lee is not a stupid person. He will understand. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the others went back to rest, Steward Wu of the Raging Flames sect had been waiting for Wanyan Han's return. Ever since he heard that the Green Dragon sect was recruiting disciples this time, he could no longer sit still. According to the news from his subordinates, a small team from the lower realm actually had 4 cultivators with superior talent and 2 with exceptional talent. This was simply too shocking. Cultivators with superior talent were the targets that all the major forces fought to recruit. As for cultivators with exceptional talent, needless to say, it was really rare to see them. He had never thought that the Azure Dragon School would be able to recruit such a talented cultivator. However, when he heard that these 6 people were actually from the lower realm, a complicated premonition arose in his heart. According to his understanding, Wanyan Han had previously told him that there were 7 junior brothers and sisters from the lower realm, and one of them was his biological younger brother. Now that Wanyan Ling had become a disciple of the Raging Flame School, there were 6 people left. The team heading toward the Azure Dragon Gate also had 6 people. Could these two teams of 6 be from the same team? When this thought surfaced, it could no longer be erased from Steward Wu's mind. They were all from the lower realm, and there were also 6 of them. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? If they were really the 6 people that he had rejected back then, wouldn't that mean that he had chased out 6 extremely talented cultivators? When he thought about how these cultivators were all chased out by him and allowed the Azure Dragon School to take advantage of them for no reason, he was almost oppressed to death. Has Wanyan Han returned? Wu Wenfeng asked the cultivator outside, replying to the steward, not yet. Tell him to come to me as soon as he comes back. Wu Wenfeng's expression was extremely complicated. Although he had already determined this result, he still wanted to confirm it. He only hoped that he was overthinking and that he did not let go of such a talent. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others left, Wanyan Han, Wanyan Ling, and Yi Hao Miao made a trip to the association before returning to the Raging Flames sect together. Chapter 4484. Hearing this, Wanyan Han was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that he had guessed correctly. Steward Wu had already sent someone to look for him. Thank you. I'll be right there. Hurry up. Yi Hao Miao couldn't help but say after the cultivator left. Wanyan Han, what you said before was right. Steward Wu must have received the news and immediately started looking for you. In my opinion, Steward Wu must be regretting it now. Wanyan Ling sighed. If only Steward Wu had agreed to let them join. It's too late now. Although he hadn't been in contact with Deep Beichin and the others for a long time, he had already determined that they were all worthy friends. He originally thought that they could still get along after coming to the upper realm. This was undoubtedly excellent, but he didn't expect to be rejected by Steward Wu. If Steward Wu wants them to come back now. Yi Hao Miao frowned and probed. Do you think they'll still come back? No. Wanyan Han and Wanyan Ling said in unison. Yi Hao Miao was stunned. Why are you so determined? Actually, I think it's good that they're back. This way, we can all cultivate together again. They're not like that. Wanyan Han's black eyes were filled with helplessness. If possible, I also hope that they'll come back. However, they've joined Azure Dragon School. It's impossible to abandon them like this. That's right. Wanyan Ling nodded. They're all very loyal people. Since they've decided to join Azure Dragon School, they'll be a part of Azure Dragon School in the future. However, our friendship won't change because of this. It's just that it's basically impossible to get them to come back. Seeing that the two Wanyan brothers were so determined, Yi Hao Miao understood that there was indeed no hope in this matter. Then there's no other way. Even if Steward Wu regrets it now, it's useless. He's the one who pushed the talent away. You guys go back and rest first. I'll go to Steward Wu's place. When Wanyan Han arrived, Steward Wu was already waiting with his head craned in anticipation. Steward Wu, I heard that you were looking for me? Wanyan Han bowed and spoke respectfully. Even though he had already guessed the reason why Steward Wu was looking for him, he did not reveal any clues on his face. His innocent look was as if he did not know what was going on. Looking at Wanyan Han's innocent expression, Wu Wenfeng paused what he wanted to say. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, Wanyan Han, you told me before that you and 6 other disciples came to Roman City, right? Yes. Wanyan Han nodded. Are they still interested in joining the Blazing Fire School? Wu Wenfeng's eyes sparkled as he probed with his deep voice. Wanyan Han looked at Wu Wenfeng in astonishment. Steward Wu, didn't you say that now isn't the time to recruit disciples? Is it okay now? I'm just asking about their intentions. They really do want to join the Blazing Flame School, but there's still half a year before we recruit new disciples. Coincidentally, the Azure Dragon School is recruiting new disciples today, so they went to the Azure Dragon School. Wanyan Han pretended to be helpless and regretful. Following Wanyan Han's words, Wu Wenfeng's brows suddenly twitched. He only felt that the premonition in his heart seemed to have become reality in an instant. Chapter 4485. Wanyan Han nodded with a smile. I just want to see them and just came back. They achieved very good results today. 4 of them are upper class and 2 are special class. They are now members of the Green Dragon School. Actually, I always knew that their cultivation talent was very outstanding. Back in the lower realm, there were also rare genius cultivators. It was expected that they would achieve such results. Wang Yanhan's face was filled with a confident and joyful smile. He was obviously proud of his senior and junior brothers for achieving such good results. Looking at Wang Yanhan's bright smile, Wu Wenfeng only felt that it was especially dazzling and heartbreaking. 4 of them with upper-class talent and 2 special-class talent flew away from his eyes, just like that. And they were chased away by him. When he thought of this, his heart began to bleed. How could he do such a stupid thing? Wang Yanhan, why didn't you tell me that their cultivation talent was so outstanding? Wu Wenfeng said with a stiff expression. Wang Yanhan looked nervous. Steward Wu, I already told you that their talent was very outstanding. However, you said that it was not the right time and directly refused. You said that it was useless no matter what I said. Wu Wenfeng recalled the previous scene, when Wang Yanhan said that he wanted to introduce a few disciples to the Blazing Flame School. He did say that their talent was very outstanding. However, he did not take it to heart at all. After all, he had some understanding of the cultivation level of the lower realm cultivators. Wang Yanhan's level was already extremely powerful among the lower realm cultivators. Moreover, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared before. Therefore, when Wang Yanhan mentioned that these 6 people were also disciples of the Penglai Palace, he did not pay too much attention to it. After all, it was a little too heaven-defying for so many talented cultivators to suddenly appear in the same force. However, reality told him that it was that heaven-defying. Wang Yanhan looked at the silent Steward Wu and could not help but ask, Steward Wu, do you have anything else to say? Wu Wenfeng's expression was slightly complicated. His voice was low and hoarse. I've heard about their results in the Green Dragon School today. Since you're their senior brother, why don't you help me ask if they are willing to come to the Blazing Flame School? Hearing Wu Wenfeng's words, Wang Yanhan was slightly stunned. Steward Wu, do you mean that you want to poach them? They are now members of the Azure Dragon School. I know that this is indeed a little inappropriate, but you also know the current situation of the Blazing Flame School. We've been competing with the Azure Dragon School for so many years. The more talented they are, the more of a threat they pose to us. Since you have a good relationship with them, I believe it shouldn't be a problem to call them back. Although this is not a good thing to do, we have to look at the big picture. Wu Wenfeng's pitch-black eyes rippled with a resolute luster. He was almost certain that the Azure Dragon School's manager, Li, had already figured out the ins and outs of this matter. Presumably, he was secretly laughing about this matter right now. He had indeed chased away a few great talents, but as long as he managed to poach them back, the ones who would suffer and lose face would still be the Azure Dragon sect. Wang Yanhan fell into silence. Even though he had expected that Steward Wu would make such a decision, when it really happened, he still didn't know how to answer Steward Wu. Chapter 4486. Steward Wu, my junior brothers and junior sisters are all very loyal people. Previously, they came to the upper realm for the first time and didn't understand the situation here. When they knew I was in the Blazing Flame School, they naturally wanted to go with me, but they were rejected in the end. Now that they've joined the Azure Dragon School, judging from their behavior, they're quite satisfied with this result. I'm afraid it's not very likely for them to return. Wang Yanhan tried his best to explain the facts tactfully. He knew Bailey Hongzhuang and the others too well. It was impossible to poach them back. Moreover, anyone would have a temper. Previously, Wu Wenfeng had rejected them without giving them any face. Now, he wanted to recruit them back. Let alone them. Even if it were someone else, they probably wouldn't agree so easily. Hearing that, Wu Wenfeng couldn't help but frown. I understand that I hurt their feelings by rejecting them, but as long as they join the Blazing Flame School now, I can compensate them. Seeing that Wu Wenfeng was still unwilling to give up, Wang Yanhan's feelings were extremely complicated. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have done it in the first place. It was a pity that things had already come to this point, and there was no turning back. Go and talk to them first. If it really doesn't work, then forget it. Wu Wenfeng sighed. He was already regretting his actions to the extreme. He was really unwilling to hand over these geniuses on a silver platter. Yes. Wang Yanhan cupped his hands before leaving. After leaving the room, Wang Yanhan suddenly realized that Wang Yanling and Yi Haomiao hadn't returned. Instead, they were waiting for him on the way. You don't have to say it. I can already guess from your expression. Yi Hao Miao spread his hands and curled his lips into a speechless smile. Steward Wu must be unwilling to give up and wants you to go back and persuade them again, right? Wang Yanhan nodded helplessly. That's right. Then let's go. Although the possibility of them agreeing is very small, since Steward Wu has spoken, we should at least ask, said Wan Yanling. Let's go. The truth was just as they expected. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others chose to refuse. Actually, it didn't make any difference to them no matter which force they joined. However, they had just joined the Azure Dragon School. If they transferred to the Blazing Flame School, it would undoubtedly embarrass the Azure Dragon School. They had no enmity with the Azure Dragon School, so it was inappropriate for them to do this. Moreover, in this way, they would undoubtedly make many enemies. In this regard, Wang Yanhan did not say anything more. If he were in Bailey Hongzhuang's position, he would probably make the same decision. However, he had to be careful when facing Steward Wu. D family clan. In the conference hall, the head of the D family, D Lin Xian, was sitting on a main seat at the top while old Madame Xiao Wanrong was sitting beside him. D Yujue, Lin Yunqing, and the other elders of the D family were all gathered together. All the important figures of the D family were present. D Yujue looked at the man kneeling on the ground in front of him, his handsome face full of anger. I really didn't expect that the spy in the family would be the butler that we have always trusted. D Yujue's deep voice was filled with killing intent and anger. He clenched his fists tightly, and the sharp and ruthless light seemed to want to cut the kneeling man into pieces. Chapter 4487. From that moment on, he had already realized that there was a spy in the family. Otherwise, their actions would have been so secretive that it would have been impossible for them to leak out. Naturally, no one would have obstructed their line of sight. Therefore, he began to investigate the clues that his opponents revealed when they spread the news back to the family. He had to find this malignant tumor in the family. Otherwise, if he continued to hide, the trouble would only grow. Even if they found Beichun, they would still put him in a dangerous environment. However, the other party had hidden too deeply. He spent a lot of effort to investigate. Other than him, Lin Yunqing, and the family head, he did not tell anyone else about this news. In the end, after spending a period of time, he finally locked onto his target. It was the D family steward, D Kaiyuan. D Kaiyuan, we have not treated you unfairly all these years. You actually betrayed us, and did such a thing. D Linxian slammed the armrest angrily. His deep and dark eyes burned with raging anger. His dignified and mellow voice was powerful and resonant, causing people's hearts to tremble. However, D Kaiyuan, who was kneeling on the ground, remained silent. Tell me, did you have something to do with the disappearance of my grandson? Xiao Wanrong glared at him. Her originally gentle and kind face instantly became fierce and serious. When she thought about how her grandson had been wandering outside for so many years and caused their family to be separated, she wished that she could tear this bastard in front of her into pieces. That's right, I did something. Di Kaiyuan looked coldly at Xiao Wanrong and the others. Since I've been caught by you, I won't say anything more. If you want to kill me or torture me, do as you wish. Seeing Di Kaiyuan's fearless expression, anger appeared in the eyes of everyone from the D family. As a member of the D family, the family has always treated you well. Why did you do this? Lin Yunqing looked at Di Kaiyuan with burning eyes, as if she wanted to see through all his thoughts. The D family has treated me well. Di Kaiyuan chuckled. This is just what you think. This is the truth. Di Yujue's face was cold. You've been the family's housekeeper for so many years. You know worse than anyone else in terms of food, clothing, and other things. No matter what you need, we've done everything we can. What else do we owe you? If you really treat me as one of your own, why don't you let me cultivate the family's cultivation method? Di Kaiyuan's eyes flashed with hatred as he roared loudly. My cultivation talent is not inferior to anyone's. Why can I only be a butler? Why should I care about these trivial matters? If you really treated me as a member of the D family, would you do that? Hearing this, Di Yujue's gaze turned even colder. Di Lin Xian said bitterly, back then, When I asked you if you were interested in managing the household, you were the one who said you were interested. That's why I let you take over. If you're not interested, you can tell me directly. Do you think I'll force you? Of course you say that, but I'm just an outsider that my mother brought to the D family. Do I have a right to say no? Of course. I can only accept whatever you say. Chapter 4488. Di Linxian and the others could not help but feel a chill in their hearts when they saw Di Kaiyuan's face filled with jealousy and resentment. Back then, Di Kaiyuan's surname had not been Di. It was only after he had joined the Di family that he had been given the surname Di. In order to prevent him from feeling disappointed, they had even deliberately asked him what he liked to do. They had thought that this would allow him to live a good life, but they had never thought that he would bear a grudge against the D family for everything. A narrow-minded person will always put the blame on others instead of thinking about his own problems. With your personality, no matter how the D family treats you, you'll always find problems with it. No matter how well we treat you, it's useless. Di Yujua's eyes were as cold as a knife, without the slightest bit of warmth. A pitiful person must have a hateful side. The D family should not have taken in this kind of person back then. Di Linxian sighed and nodded. When I had brought him to the D family, I had wanted to take good care of him, but I never thought that I would take in an ingrate. I let my grandson down. At this moment, Di Linxuan's eyes were slightly red. He thought about how his grandson had been left outside for so many years. Even though Sect Master Situ had treated him well, how could it compare to growing up in his own home? Just the fact that he had been abandoned was enough to hurt him. He had always thought that it was Di Yujua's negligence that had caused this, but he never thought that the root cause was himself. Old man, you didn't want this to happen either. Xiao Wanrong looked at Di Linxian worriedly. She understood Di Linxuan's temper the best. He had always cared about Di Beichen. Now that he knew that it was his fault, he would definitely not be able to accept it. Don't blame yourself. Di Kaiyuan's expression turned very ugly when he heard everyone's words. However, he firmly believed that things were not as they had said. Don't put on an act in front of me. I remember clearly how you've treated me all these years. However, in the face of Di Kaiyuan's hysteria, Di Yujue and the others had no intention of continuing to speak to him. Some people have been stuck in a dead end for their entire lives. It was useless for them to say anything more. Who are you working for? Why didn't they let Beichen come back? Lin Yinqing took a step forward. Her gaze was as sharp as a knife, and her usually gentle face was now filled with sternness. I won't tell you. Di Kaiyuan's lips curled into a mocking smile. The treatment of direct descendants is indeed different. It's been so many years since you left, yet you still haven't given up on searching. He's really lucky. He's been out there for so many years, yet he didn't die and was even found by you guys. However, all of this is useless now. What do you mean? Di Yujue's expression changed, and his deep voice was filled with pressure. He lifted Di Kaiyuan up with one hand and said, "Tell me clearly, what do you mean by that?" Hee. Di Kaiyuan grinned. "He will never come back." What did you say? Many members of the Di family present couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. They couldn't believe the meaning behind those words. While you were looking for him, someone had already killed him. Bang! Di Yujue punched Di Kaiyuan in the face. The huge force shattered Di Kaiyuan's teeth, and his entire face swelled up. Chapter 4489. Lin Yunqing's face instantly turned pale and bloodless. She almost lost her balance and fell to the ground. Fortunately, the young man next to her supported her. "Aunt, are you all right?" However, Lin Yunqing was not in the mood to answer him. Her mind was only filled with one piece of news. He was dead. Beichen was dead. She did not even have the time to look at him before he was dead. A few days ago, she was still immersed in the joy of being reunited with Di Beichen. She had been thinking about how she should speak to Beichen and how she should get along with her daughter-in-law when they first met. However, in just a short moment, all of this had turned into a bubble. He could not possibly come back again. Di Linxian was also stunned. His weathered face seemed to have aged quite a bit in a short period of time. Even the white hair on his temples seemed to have increased. His grandson who had been through a lot of misfortune, had fallen before he could even return. Even though Di Beichen had been missing for so many years, at least they still had a trace of hope in their hearts. Now, the other party had directly told them that Di Beichen was no longer in this world. How could they accept this? Xiao Wanrong's body trembled as well. Her eyes turned red and tears flowed uncontrollably. My grandson, how could he have such a hard life? The faces of the Di family's elders turned ugly when they heard the news. Ever since they found out that Di Beichen was still alive, they had been looking forward to meeting him. Even though Di Beichen had been away all these years, they believed that Di Yujue's son would not be too bad. However, who would have thought that this would be the outcome? Di Kaiyuan looked at the pained looks on Di Yujue and the others' faces, and the smile on his face grew even more brilliant. Ha! You're heartbroken now, aren't you? Di Kaiyuan laughed loudly. You only value the direct descendants, so I won't let your direct descendants come back. Am I not considered a direct descendant? Just because I'm an illegitimate son, you're treating me like this. As he spoke, Di Kaiyuan's eyes flickered with a crazy and paranoid light. Why? This kind of birth is not something I could decide. Why can't I receive fair treatment? As soon as these words were spoken, Di Yujue and the others were slightly stunned. They subconsciously looked at Di Lin Xian, who was sitting on the main seat. Di Kaiyuan was Di Lin Xian's illegitimate son? This was something that even they did not know. However, Di Lin Xian's eyes suddenly lit up with understanding. His voice was heavy and distant as he said, So you've been misunderstanding me all this time. Isn't that so? Since you dare to do it, why don't you dare to admit it? Di Kaiyuan questioned loudly. Otherwise, why would you bring me back to the Di family and give me the surname Di? My mother died of depression. Alas. Xiao Wanrong sighed. I didn't expect such a misunderstanding to occur. You are mistaken. You are not my son, Di Lin Xian said in a deep voice. As soon as Di Lin Xian finished speaking, Di Kaiyuan was stunned, and his eyes turned slightly red as he said, How could that be possible? You're just unwilling to admit it because of your status as the head of the family. A big family like the Di family is not a place that ordinary people can enter, let alone be given the surname Di. This was something that was impossible in the history of the Di family. Not to mention him, many people in the Di family thought so, but no one said it out loud. Chapter 4490. That year, I went out to train and became good brothers with your father. We became sworn brothers with different surnames. At that time, your mother was already pregnant, and I was going to look for spirit medicine. Your father was worried about me going alone and asked to go with me. He never thought that he would die in the process to save me. Before he died, he entrusted you and your mother to me and asked me to take good care of you. If it wasn't for me, your father wouldn't have died, so I brought you and your mother back to the Di family. To me, you are my son. I was worried that you would be bullied in the Di family without a name, so I discussed it with Wanrong and gave you the surname Di. Your mother and father had a very good relationship. Although I could take care of her, she missed your father too much and later died of depression. I thought that she had told you everything, but I didn't expect that you were still young when your mother passed away. Perhaps you didn't understand these things. No matter what, I do owe you, so I've been doing my best to take care of you all these years. Even if some people in the family aren't satisfied, I still insist, because I owe you my life. Di Linshuan's voice trembled. The one thing he regretted the most in his life was that he had insisted on looking for the spirit medicine. If he hadn't gone, Di Kaiyuan's father wouldn't have died, and their family would have been able to live a good life. Even though he had done his best to make up for it, he couldn't replace Di Kaiyuan after all. He didn't expect that his actions would cause Di Kaiyuan to have such a misunderstanding, resulting in so many things happening. Hearing Di Linshuan's words, everyone finally understood that so many things had happened. No wonder Di Linxian had been taking care of Di Kaiyuan so much. Even the family members couldn't stand it anymore. All this time, they had also had such suspicions, but no one had said it out loud. That's right. I also know about what happened back then. We owe you and your mother, so we wanted to make it up to you as much as possible, but we didn't expect you to be so stubborn. Xiao Wanrong sighed faintly. What happened back then was indeed our fault, but now that you've done such a thing, we're even. But, Yinxing, our Di family has let you down. Speaking of this, Xiao Wanrong couldn't help but shed tears. This matter was the fault of the D family, but the one who was most sorry was Lin Yinqing. As a mother, it was easy to imagine how painful it must be for her child to encounter such an unexpected calamity. At this moment, she really didn't know how to face Lin Yinqing. "This is impossible," Di Kaiyuan shouted crazily. His eyes turned red, filled with paranoia and disbelief. "How could this be? We've already come this far, so why don't you admit it? Whether you believe it or not, this is the truth." Di Linxian looked at Di Kaiyuan with a complicated gaze. He really didn't expect that the good karma back then would lead to today's bad karma. "If you don't believe me, you could do a blood test." Xiao Wanrong looked at Di Kaiyuan coldly. "If you've always been so sure in your heart, you could have come to us to verify it long ago. Why did you keep hiding it in your heart? Ask yourself, have the D family really mistreated you all these years? We will try our best to satisfy all your requests." Chapter 4491. Xiao Wanrong's words were like pearls, stabbing into Di Kaiyuan's chest like a sharp blade. After the bloody truth was revealed, Di Kaiyuan found it even harder to accept. He could not believe that the final truth would be like this. It turned out that the D family did not owe him anything. He was not an illegitimate child. He was just an outsider. All these years, he had always believed that what he thought was the truth. If that was really the case, then what was the pain and resentment he had suffered all these years? Was he repaying kindness with ingratitude? No. Di Kaiyuan shook his head with a pale face. "Impossible. It can't be like this." Di Linshuan's eyes were complicated and disappointed. "Forget it. You can leave. A life for a life. I've already repaid what I owe you. I won't kill you because I promised your father to take good care of you. But you can't stay in the D family anymore. The farther you go, the better. Don't let us see you again," Xiao Wanrong also said. They really did not know what to say in this situation. A desolate feeling of a farmer and a snake spread in his heart. His heart gradually turned cold. This kind of coldness could not be expressed with words. The cultivators of the D family fell into silence. They originally wanted to kill Di Kaiyuan to vent the hatred in their hearts. But looking at Di Kaiyuan's unacceptable expression, it was obvious that he had suffered a huge blow. If Di Kaiyuan was unwilling to believe it before, after seeing this scene, he already understood that all of this was true. He had misunderstood everything. Yes, why didn't he have the courage to ask for the truth? He asked himself. From the standards of an outsider, the D family had already done everything they could for him, but he could know. Di Kaiyuan seemed to have gone crazy. Under everyone's surprised gazes, he suddenly slammed into the pillar in the meeting hall. Seeing this, the members of the D family were all stunned. His actions were so sudden that none of them had time to react. Bang! A loud sound suddenly resounded. Di Kaiyuan fell to the ground. His forehead was already dripping with blood, but his face also showed a relieved expression. He raised his head to look at Di Linxian as tears fell from the corners of his eyes. His originally crazy and stubborn face was now filled with pain and regret. "I'm sorry. I've been so muddle-headed all these years." With the last of his strength, he knelt in the direction of Lin Yunqing and Di Yujue. "I'm sorry." Di Yujue hurriedly stepped forward to support Di Kaiyuan and shouted, "Kaiyuan, if there's a chance in the next life, I'll definitely return this debt to you." Di Kaiyuan's expression was mournful, but his eyes gradually became unfocused. His hand slipped down and lost all signs of life. However, this was the true release for him. He had been trapped in hatred for so many years that he only realized how foolish he had been right before his death. When faced with such a Di Kaiyuan, everyone fell into silence. What he had done was indeed hateful, but facing him like this, how could they continue to hate him? It was just that Beichen had been wronged. "Daughter-in-law, I'm sorry." Di Linxian's weathered face was filled with guilt. He had thought that he had lived an open and above-board life, but he did not expect to cause such a thing. He really did not have the face to face Lin Yinqing. Lin Yinqing covered her face and cried bitterly. At this moment, she could no longer control her emotions. Di Yujue's eyes were also red. It was not easy for him to find Di Beichun, but he never thought that. Chapter 4492. Night had enveloped the land, and moonlight poured into the room through the window. Di Lin Xian and Di Yujue stood opposite each other in the room. Both of their faces were filled with grief and heaviness. "How's Yinxing?" Di Lin Xian asked slowly. His voice was filled with the vicissitudes of life and a sigh. He had never imagined that things would end up like this. Di Yujue sighed. This matter has dealt a huge blow to her. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have told her about it. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Although Lin Yinxing had been secretly grieving over this matter, her condition had been relatively stable. However, after experiencing this incident, her emotions had fluctuated greatly. He had been doing his best to console her before coming here. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. Sigh. Di Lin Xian sighed. "It's all my fault. Father, this matter was not something you could have predicted. Kai Yuan has been acting like a gentleman all these years. Who would have thought that he would always have such thoughts? You must not blame yourself for harming yourself. Yujue, I've always thought that it was your fault that Beichun disappeared all those years ago. I've never treated you well all these years. However, I never imagined that I would be the cause of all this. Now that things have come to this, I really don't know how to face all of you. Father, we're family. Is there a need for you to say such things? I plan to pass the position of patriarch to you. This old man has been holding on all these years. I'm really tired." "Father," Di Yujue was worried. When he saw Di Lin Xian like this, he even felt that it would be better for his father to continue misunderstanding him like this. Now that the truth had been revealed, he could clearly sense that his father's condition had worsened. Di Lin Xian raised his right hand and stopped him. "You know that I wanted to pass the position of patriarch to you. Now it's time to pass it to you." Di Yujue fell silent when he heard this. He had always known Di Lin Xian's plan. All these years, Di Lin Xian had not passed the position of patriarch to him. On the surface, it seemed like he was punishing him, but in reality, wasn't it to give him more time to search for Beichun? Otherwise, once he sat in this position, he would not be able to run around everywhere. Di Lin Xian patted Di Yujue's shoulder and said, "I believe you." After a moment of silence, Di Lin Xian suddenly said, "Yujue, do you think Beichun's matter is really that simple?" As soon as Di Lin Xian finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. Di Yujue's dark and deep eyes flashed with a complicated yet wise light. Kai Yuan has been the family's housekeeper all these years and has a good network. But if he did it himself, I'm afraid he couldn't have done it so secretly. I think he must have a helper. Your thoughts are the same as mine. Di Lin Xian nodded. Why do you think Kai Yuan didn't tell us who the helper was? I think Kai Yuan might have been fooled as well. Di Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and motioned for Di Yujue to continue speaking. Kai Yuan isn't a calculative person. It's just that his mother's death has blinded him. But if that's all, he might not have come to this stage. There must be someone sowing discord in the background. That's why he became more and more extreme. Chapter 4493. It's a pity that Kai Yuan wanted to commit suicide. We couldn't stop him even if we wanted to. Di Yujue frowned. He didn't expect that Di Kai Yuan would choose to commit suicide after knowing the truth. After all, Di Kai Yuan had acted so tough before. Di Yujue even thought that he might not tell the truth under torture. Who would have thought that he would make such a decision? If we could have stopped him, we would have known who was fanning the flames. This person not only fanned the flames and sowed discord, but also helped Kai Yuan accomplish these things. It's obvious that he's quite capable. Di Lin Chuan's expression was grave. This incident had undoubtedly given them a warning. Someone had been secretly sabotaging the Di family. Di Yujue nodded. We've always been paying attention to the Di family's power. If they want to mobilize a group of people to deal with Beichun and confuse us, they obviously need a powerful force. If it's someone from the Di family who wants to mobilize this force, we'll definitely notice it. I think there's definitely someone else involved. This person is bent on destroying the unity of the Di family and trying to deal with our direct descendant. He must have other motives. Di Lin Chuan's voice was low. He looked at Di Yujue with a complicated and cautious gaze. It's been so many years since Bei-chun went missing. That person has been doing things behind the scenes. It's obvious that this is a very long plan. If we don't notice it, it could be a huge disaster when these problems erupt. Yujue, you must find a way to get to the bottom of this. You must uproot the people that the other party has planted in the D family. Otherwise, we won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Di Linxian clenched his right hand into a fist. Today's incident seemed like an ordinary incident. However, after he came back and thought about it carefully, he was terrified. This was definitely a conspiracy. Therefore, they couldn't continue like this. They had to get to the bottom of this. Father, I understand. Di Yujue's expression was serious and solemn. He had also expected this. He had to get to the bottom of this. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous. The Di family's many years of foundation must not be damaged. Xiaofeng has been out for a long time. Now that such a big thing has happened, you should call Xiaofeng back. Bei-chun can't come back, but at least Xiaofeng can accompany Yinqing, so Yinqing can feel a little better. Di Linxian couldn't help but sigh. He had been all-powerful all his life, but in the end, he couldn't even protect his own grandson. Thinking about it, he hated himself. I've already sent someone to send a message to Xiaofeng. He should be back soon. After Xiaofeng comes back this time, tell him to restrain himself and not to go out too often. Since they don't want our direct disciples to come back, maybe Xiaofeng is one of their targets. We've already lost Bei-chun. We can't lose Xiaofeng as well. Father, don't worry. I won't let this happen again. Di Linxian nodded. That's good. Just as Di Linxian was about to go back, he noticed that Di Yujue was still standing there. He couldn't help but ask, is there anything else you want to say? Father, although Kai Yuan said that Bei-chun is no longer in this world, we didn't see it with our own eyes. Although the probability of Bei-chun being alive is very small, if he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. As long as I don't see it with my own eyes, I can't accept this result. Chapter 4494. Kai Yuan didn't change his words until he died. This result, Di Linxuan's gaze was complicated and sorrowful. They all knew that Di Kaiyuan had figured everything out before he died. If Di Bei-chun wasn't dead, then Di Kaiyuan would definitely tell the truth. However, he didn't change his words. This proved that he wasn't lying. No matter what, I have to personally confirm this result. Di Yujue's attitude was firm. All these years, although we didn't say it out loud, didn't we all already believe that Bei-chun had fallen? However, I received news that Bei-chun is still alive. Di Yujue's face revealed a confident glow. I have a feeling that Bei-chun will definitely return to the Di family. He overcame such a great difficulty like the cursed body. He's a descendant of the Di family. Even if he's been wandering outside all these years, he'll eventually return. Father, I've seen Bei-chun before. I know that he's a person with strong willpower. Even if Di Kaiyuan sent someone to kill him, the chances of him surviving are very small. However, I still hope that there will be miracles in this world. If I don't verify it, I'll never give up. Hearing Di Yujue's words, Di Linxuan's gaze gradually softened. He patted Di Yujue's shoulder. As expected of a good son of the Di family, don't give up until the last moment. Indeed, we haven't given up after searching for so many years. Now, we're only listening to the news from Kaiyuan. How can we give up without seeing it with our own eyes? Di Yujue's lips slowly curved into a smile. He knew that his father would definitely support his decision. He owed Bei-chun too much. All these years, he had never fulfilled his responsibility as a father. Even if Bei-chun had really fallen, he should at least bring back Bei-chun's corpse. Otherwise, how could he be considered Bei-chun's father? Don't be in a hurry to leave for now. Yinqing needs you. You can go after Xiaofeng returns. Di Linxian pondered for a moment before speaking slowly. He knew his daughter-in-law's character very well. She would not be able to take such a huge blow. If she didn't have a close relative by her side, she would definitely let her imagination run wild. Di Yujue nodded. All right, go back and take good care of Yunqing. Shuiyun City. Di Xiaofeng had been accompanying Bailey Yunyan to take care of Bailey Shi. Now, Bailey Shi's condition was gradually improving. Although they were still some distance away from complete recovery, they could already see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yin, stay here and take care, Xier. I need to go back to the clan, Di Xiaofeng said slowly. In truth, he should have returned long ago. However, he was worried about Bailey Yin. That was why he had remained in Watercloud City all this time. Back then, he was inexplicably plotted against and hunted down. If it wasn't for his strength, he would have already lost his life. Based on the situation at the time, he felt that the other party was completely aware of his identity and had come for him. These people actually dared to openly hunt down a direct descendant of the D family. It was clear that the other party's background was not simple. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to leave anyone alive at the time. He had no idea who had sent them. He had to report this matter to the clan. He had to be careful during this period. Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, Bailey Yunyan's expression changed slightly. You're going back? Chapter 4495. Then when you go back, Bailey Yunyan bit her lip, her gaze hesitant and complicated. Will you come back? Bailey Yunyan's voice was very soft, almost inaudible towards the end. However, Di Xiaofeng still heard it clearly, his lips curling into a smile of surprise. Yunyan, are you waiting for me to come back? Bailey Yunyan's expression changed again and again, her eyes flashing incessantly. She tilted her head and said, I'm just casually asking. Seeing Bailey Yunyan like this, Di Xiaofeng was not stupid and naturally understood what she meant. If you're here, I will come back. The deep and magnetic voice rang in Bailey Yunyan's ears, melting into her heart. She vaguely felt a tinge of sweetness. In the past, she had never dared to face her own feelings, nor did she believe that someone as outstanding as Di Xiaofeng would put all his thoughts on her. However, after experiencing this incident, she gradually began to believe in all of this. Just as Di Xiaofeng was about to make this decision, his shadow guard suddenly delivered a letter to him from home. After reading the contents of the letter, his expression changed greatly. I wasn't at home for a while. I didn't expect so many things to happen. Young master, you should go back quickly. I'll go back immediately. Rome and City. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest settled down in the Azure Dragon Gate, because of their outstanding performance during the assessment, everyone knew that they were not people to be offended, so no one dared to cause trouble. In comparison, there would occasionally be some conflicts between the other disciples because of the distribution of their respective resources. However, this was a common occurrence in the Azure Dragon Gate, so everyone was used to it. 3 days later, the Azure Dragon Gate also held a talent assessment. Cultivators who had not awakened their talents could do so here. When Xiren and the rest had been waiting for this for a long time, so they all confidently took the test. Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun had already awakened their talents, so there was no need for them to awaken their talents. Furthermore, their talents were so unique, if they were to take the test again, it would be easy for people to associate them with their true identities. Therefore, they only wrote down their attributes in the record book. The awakening of one's innate talent was a grand event that attracted a lot of attention no matter where it was. During the test, Xiren and the other three's innate talents were completely stimulated. Xiren, congratulations. You have a metal element talent. Di Beichun smiled faintly. This talent is exactly what you expected. Xiren chuckled and nodded, a hint of pride in his expression. I know myself very well, so I've already guessed my innate attribute from the very beginning. You husband and wife really follow each other. I didn't expect that your awakened talents would be the same. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and congratulated her. Her voice was filled with emotion. Shangguan Yingying and Xiren both awakened the metal element. No wonder the two of them were so compatible and could even cultivate a joint martial technique. In my opinion, the most praiseworthy one among the four of us is Yunju. He actually awakened the thunder element, which is really surprising. Ao Lingxiao was amazed. Other than the 5 basic attributes, there were very few cultivators of other attributes. Chapter 4496. However, cultivators with thunder attribute talents were all on the offensive path, and their destructive power was extremely shocking. Most people would not want to offend a cultivator with thunder attribute. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest nodded as they heard Ao Lingxiao's words. They did not expect Mo Yunjue to have the rare thunder attribute. As for Ao Lingxiao's attribute, they already knew that he was an earth attribute cultivator. Compared to his attack power, his defense power was more outstanding. The attribute test has ended. You just have to go to the corresponding guild to obtain the cultivation method, Di Beichun said slowly. According to this, only Yingying and I belong to the same guild. The four of you belong to 4 different guilds, Xiren said as he raised his eyebrows. That's right. Di Beichun nodded. It doesn't matter if you belong to different guilds. Every guild will have a certain amount of missions. After completing the missions, you will be able to obtain a certain amount of contribution points. You can use these contribution points to exchange for things you need in the guild. It seems that no matter where you are from, the settings are the same. Shangguan Yingying smiled faintly. Their cultivation talents were not bad. Although they were not as crazy as Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang, who were both at the maximum level, they were still quite outstanding. This could be seen from the reverence in the eyes of the surrounding cultivators when they looked at them. Every few days, there would be an elder from the Green Dragon clan who would come to teach them the cultivation methods of various attributes. As for which attributes they would be taught, it would depend on the attributes of the teaching elder. Through this kind of teaching, everyone would be able to understand more about their own attributes. At the same time, they would be able to avoid taking the wrong path. The Green Dragon clan's method was similar to the Fiery clan's. They did not restrict the freedom of the cultivators. Other than the activities organized by the Green Dragon clan that they had to participate in, they would not interfere with where the disciples went. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were about to leave, a cultivator suddenly stopped in front of them. Are you Junior Sister Lan? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I am. Junior Sister Lan, according to the information you filled in, you are a light attribute cultivator? The man's eyes were filled with excitement. Cultivators of the light attribute were always popular. Although their Azure Dragon School already had a cultivator of the light attribute, the addition of another cultivator of the light attribute was still something worth celebrating. Not bad. That's great. A smile appeared on the man's face. This is what Manager Lee asked me to ask. I'll go and report this to Manager Lee. Sorry to trouble you, senior brother. After the man left, Xiren and the others exchanged glances, sighing inwardly. As expected, light-attributed cultivators in the upper realm received extraordinary treatment. Hongzhuang, if you report to the Holy Light Assembly, will they re-examine your talent? There was a hint of worry in Mo Yunjue's deep eyes. Talent could not be hidden. Once they were asked to re-examine it, there would be no way to hide it anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered for a moment, then said, I've already obtained the cultivation method of light energy. I don't have to go there for the time being. Chapter 4497. Inside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun entered the Chaos Ring and began to cultivate again. Beichun, ever since I successfully displayed that mysterious summoning technique last time, I haven't tried it again. I want to try it again here. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichun in high spirits. Back then, when she displayed such a technique, even she herself found it hard to believe. If she didn't remember it clearly at that time, she would have thought that she was being chased until she lost her mind, which was why she imagined such a thing. However, it was also at that critical moment that she thought of the use of the secret technique that she obtained. Previously, after she obtained the secret technique, she couldn't understand it. She thought of many ways, but still couldn't decipher it. She only felt that she gradually understood it and vaguely understood it. If she didn't experience the previous crisis, she probably didn't know when she would be able to truly comprehend all of this. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichun also nodded. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang told him about this situation, he also felt that it was a little unbelievable. He had never heard of such a thing. However, later on, they were injured. This summoning was very taxing, so they didn't try it. What's more, Di Xiaofeng often came back to find them. It wasn't suitable for them to always be in seclusion. Later on, they met Xiren and the others, so they didn't have the chance to properly test it. Now that they settled down in the Azure Dragon sect, they naturally had the time to properly test it. Let's try it. If we can successfully summon it, then it's no different from having one more method in the future. Bachan's face rippled with a faint smile. Indeed, none of the treasures in the Chaos Ring were simple. Although the stone room later on became extremely slow and didn't open for a long time, the effect after it opened was also huge. They were very clear about the strength of the four assassins, but the demonic beasts summoned by Bailey Hongzhuang were able to block their attacks. This point was already very amazing. If the other party had 2 people instead of 4, then the existence of this summoned beast could completely change the situation. After entering the ocean world, a smile appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. She had not been here for a long time. Coming here again, they all had a different feeling in their hearts. However, just as they were floating on the surface of the sea, they suddenly discovered that a huge city wall had appeared in front of them. Seeing the wall again, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bachan couldn't help but look at each other. They were no strangers to this scene. When they were in the desert world, they passed through such a wall and came to the ocean world. Now, with their cultivation, there was no longer any difficulty in this oceanic world, so a new wall had appeared. Didn't this mean that they were about to arrive at a new place? They could completely predict that after crossing this city wall, the strength of the demonic beast they encountered would definitely be much stronger than before. In the face of such a scene, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bachan smiled at each other, a smile appearing on their lips. Naturally, they wouldn't refuse a new challenge. Only when they were in danger would they be able to improve faster. Chapter 4498. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang had planned to test her summoning technique in the oceanic world. However, judging from the situation of the city wall, they would have to pass through it first. This was because the seawater behind them was pushing them forward, and the city wall was getting closer and closer to them. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bachan arrived in front of the city gate. Immediately after, the two of them walked through the city gate without hesitation. Compared to the curiosity and apprehension they felt the first time, the two of them were much calmer this time. After they passed through the city wall, they were shocked to find a green field full of vitality in front of them. Previously, they had been looking at the endless blue sea, but now it had suddenly turned into a green field full of vitality. A trace of astonishment flashed across the two of their eyes. Looks like this should be a forest. Bachan looked at the endless green field and slowly said. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded. This Chaos Ring's training is really amazing. It changes the scene every once in a while. Through these different scenes, we have a better understanding of the survival methods of different environments. This Chaos Ring is really amazing. Bachan sighed his heart. No wonder this Chaos Ring could bring Hongzhuang's soul back to life. He felt that this Chaos Ring was simply beyond the category of divine tools. This was because he had never heard of any divine tool that could be so powerful. The demonic beasts here are definitely much stronger than those in the oceanic world. We have to be more careful. Her clear and bright, beautiful eyes were filled with concern and caution. Every time they came here to train, they were filled with danger. Even though they had already reached the Starlight Realm, Bailey Hongzhuang still did not dare to underestimate them. The demonic beasts here were originally more powerful than the previous one, not to mention that they had now entered a new territory. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, Bai Shi, and Xiao Xuanzi all appear beside Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Xuanzi at this moment. This was an opportunity for Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Xuanzi to train. At the same time, it was also an opportunity for them to train. The last time they faced the assassin, their helplessness had taken root in their hearts. In that situation, they simply did not have the ability to protect their master. Therefore, ever since they survived, the tension of increasing their strength had always lingered in their hearts. The feeling of being powerless while facing the person he cared about the most, who was on the brink of death, was really uncomfortable. Master, since we're going to stay in Rome and city for a while to improve our cultivation, it's not a bad idea to cultivate here for a while. We can also practice our elemental powers. White Lion's eyes were deep and persistent. There were far too many masters in the higher realms. If they didn't seize this time to cultivate, it would be far too dangerous. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Indeed. If you agree, we will come here often to train. As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Baichen again. Next time, let's call Ying and the rest over as well. Everyone has just started cultivating their elemental powers and needs a place to practice. Usually, there's no chance to practice in the Azure Dragon Gate. This place is perfect. Yunju is also a trustworthy person. As for A.O. Lingxiao, Di Baichen furrowed his brows. A.O. Lingxiao was indeed a team with them, but the degree of trust between them was slightly less than that of friends who had known each other for a long time. Chapter 4499. Looking at Di Baichen's furrowed brows, Bailey Hongzhuang understood his worries. She thought for a moment and said, Ling Xiao should be trustworthy. He still hopes that we can help him return to his family. If he spreads this news, it won't do him any good. I'm inclined to believe him too. Di Baichen nodded. From the time he spent with A.O. Ling Xiao, he had a certain understanding of A.O. Ling Xiao's personality. He was a straightforward person. If he was really good at scheming, then he wouldn't have been tricked by his elder brother and ended up in such a state. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. Then it's fine. Since they were friends, then they should trust each other. After all, if they weren't willing to trust each other, then they wouldn't be able to gain a trustworthy friend. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 4 demonic beasts walked together in the mountain range. The sunlight shone through the gaps between the trees and cast mottled shadows on their bodies. The scenery around them was very enchanting. However, they obviously weren't in the mood to appreciate this. They focused all their attention on observing the movements around them. Faintly, they could hear the roars of beasts from afar. This proved that there were many beasts here. No one knew when the beasts would appear, so they had to be careful. However, the strange thing was that after walking for a while, they didn't see any traces of beasts. In the past, whether it was the desert world or the ocean world, we would be attacked not long after we entered. I didn't think that the forest world would be different. Her ink-black phoenix eyes rippled with a bright light. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully observed her surroundings. This place was too quiet. Aside from the surrounding plants, there was nothing else. It was different from what she had imagined. Maybe it's because we haven't been here for a long time. The Chaos Ring wants us to relax for a while. Di Baichen was clearly in a good mood. He actually had the mood to joke. However, just as the two of them continued to walk, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly stopped in her tracks. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, Di Baichen cautiously looked around. However, he was certain that there were no beasts around. Why was Bailey Hongzhuang in such a state? Wife, did you discover something? Based on Di Baichen's understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang, she must have discovered something. I smell a faint medicinal fragrance. Bailey Hongzhuang calmed her heart and carefully sensed this trace of smell. Although it was very faint, she was certain that this medicinal ingredient definitely existed. Medicinal fragrance? Di Baichen raised his eyebrows, a trace of surprise appearing between his brows. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This is definitely a very high-grade spiritual grass. It should have just matured, which is why it is emitting such a medicinal fragrance. I didn't think that there would be such a spirit herb in this forest world. Wouldn't it be very beneficial for us? Xiaohei's eyes sparkled with excitement. Back then, whether it was in the desert world or the ocean world, they basically did not gain anything other than demon crystals. They did not expect that there would be spirit herbs growing in the forest world. Just by looking at his master's excited expression, he could tell that this spiritual grass must be of a very high grade. Otherwise, his master would not be so excited. Chapter 4500. It had been a while since she refined pills. It was not because she did not have time, but because it was not easy to find suitable spiritual herbs. According to the information she had learned, if she wanted to increase her attribute power, she could use some pills with attribute power to speed up her cultivation speed. It was just that these elixirs required higher-grade spiritual grasses. She had learned about this when she was in the Holy Light Assembly. Any pill that could help increase one's attribute power was shockingly expensive. She was an alchemist, so she naturally did not need to buy pills refined by others. However, The spiritual herbs needed to refine these pills were also shockingly expensive. Thinking back to when she was in the lower realm, she did earn some spirit stones through her medicine, but the price of these spirit stones was far from the price of the spiritual herbs. Even if she took out all of her wealth, she would not be able to buy a set of medicinal herbs. She also felt very helpless about this. Not only were the cultivation methods different between the upper realm and the lower realm, but even the pills needed were not the same. The pills that she had refined in the past were very useful for cultivators who had not awakened their innate talents. However, the cultivators in the upper realm needed to increase their attribute power, so the problem naturally existed. Although she had not seen this spiritual herb with her own eyes, she believed that the grade of this spiritual herb was not low, and it was very high. According to her judgment, even if this grade of spiritual herb could not be used to refine the pill she needed, it could be used to exchange for other medicinal herbs. Let's go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other with bright eyes. Immediately after, the two of them and the four beasts quickly rushed forward. As the two of them got closer, they found that even the sounds of the demonic beasts around them were almost inaudible. Noticing this change, Deep Beichun could not help but pull Bailey Hongzhuang and said with a slightly gloomy face, "Wife, this situation seems a bit strange." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Deep Beichun and raised her eyebrows, asking silently, "Ever since we got closer to the spiritual grass, the sounds of those demonic beasts have been getting farther and farther away." Deep Beichun's eyes rippled with a dignified and complicated light. "According to my judgment, the reason why we haven't been attacked along the way is probably because we are in the territory of a powerful demon beast." As Deep Beichun's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang also recovered from the joy. She gradually calmed down. After analyzing Deep Beichun's words, her back was drenched in cold sweat. Perhaps it was because she was training in the Chaos Ring, and many situations were different from the outside world, so she had overlooked these things. However, just as Deep Beichun had said, usually high-grade spiritual herbs would be guarded by powerful demonic beasts. It was very likely that they were now in the territory of these demonic beasts. We haven't encountered any demonic beasts along the way. It's very likely that the demonic beasts are in the vicinity of the spiritual herbs. Deep Beichun continued to analyze in a deep voice. "We are now not far from the spiritual herbs. We have to be careful." Bailey Hongzhuang's face was dignified as she nodded. "You're right. I almost overlooked this point before. There's a small hill in front of us. The view is wider. Let's hide there and observe." Chapter 45:01. Then the two people and the four beasts crawled on the small hill and looked down. Not far away, there was a round lake. The lake water was very clear, and there was green grass all around. It looked like a very beautiful place. However, the two people and the four beasts' attention was not here. Their attention was on the purple lotus that was blooming in the middle of the lake. There was only one enchanting purple lotus in the middle of the lake. The strong fragrance was coming from this lotus. Just by smelling this fragrance, everyone felt refreshed. Purple lotus? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was astonished. In her memories, purple lotuses were extremely rare. "Wife, do you know what kind of spiritual herb this is?" Deep Beichun raised his eyebrows. He didn't know much about spiritual herbs. This purple lotus was clearly not an ordinary item. However, this purple lotus was not one of the spiritual herbs that he knew. If I didn't guess wrong, this should be the purple dawn dream lotus. The clear and pleasant voice was full of surprise and disbelief. Even though she knew what kind of spiritual herb it was, Bailey Hongzhuang still couldn't believe it. The purple dawn dream lotus is a 7th rank spiritual herb. It takes 10,000 years to mature and grows in places with abundant spiritual energy. This purple dawn dream lotus had a very special characteristic, and that was that it would only bloom after 10,000 years. If it hadn't been 10,000 years, it would be useless to pick it up at any time. Plus, it doesn't take long to bloom. If you miss the timing, you will have to wait another 10,000 years. Because of this, the purple dawn dream lotus is rarely seen. I didn't think that we would be able to see this purple dawn dream lotus in the world of the Chaos Ring. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at the purple dawn dream lotus with bright eyes. This was a treasure that could only be found by chance. If she didn't remember the characteristics of the purple dawn dream lotus, and if this lotus was exactly the same as the one described, she wouldn't believe that she would encounter one. Master, this purple dawn dream lotus is so rare. What is it used for? Xiao He asked curiously. As a cultivator, other than elemental energy, divine sense is also extremely important. With the divine sense, even without using his eyes, he would be able to see everything clearly and explore the surrounding environment. However, essence power can be improved through cultivation, but it is very difficult to improve divine sense. It is basically related to the talent of the cultivator. Although Bailey Hongzhuang hadn't finished speaking, Di Beiqian and the four beasts had already understood. This amethyst dream lotus can improve one's consciousness. If that was the case, then the violet dream lotus was indeed an incredible treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. The purple dawn dream lotus is the most important ingredient in the spirit tempering pill. The spirit tempering pill can temper one's divine sense to achieve the purpose of strengthening. Of course, if you consume the purple dawn dream lotus directly, it will also have the effect of increasing your divine sense, but it will be a waste. I see. After cultivating for so long, they naturally knew the importance of divine sense. Most of the time, if one's divine sense was sharp enough, one would be able to predict the situation. Under the same level of strength, the role of this spiritual sense was maximized. Such a good treasure, we must get it, Xiao Xuanzi said excitedly. After the excitement, Bailey Hongzhuang also calmed down. Chapter 45:02. Why haven't we seen the guardian beast after being here for so long? Bailey Hongzhuang looked around carefully. Could it be that the guardian beast went out and is not around here? If that was the case, then their luck was too good. Be careful. Let's observe for a while more. Di Beiqian did not let his guard down because of this. Logically speaking, the guardian beast should know the maturity time of the spiritual herb. If the guardian beast was not around at this time, it proved that the guardian beast must be busy with something more important. As for what exactly this matter was, it was worth their time to investigate it. Because they were not sure how strong the guardian beast was, Di Beiqian and Bailey Hongzhuang did not dare to use their divine sense to check the surroundings. Once the guardian beast sensed it, the situation would be even worse. After carefully observing for a moment, they found that there was indeed no movement, so they immediately became bolder and approached the lake. When they approached, they were all 120% alert. If there was anything wrong, they would definitely run away immediately. However, until they got close to the lake, they still did not feel any movement of the monster. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian looked at each other. Then Bailey Hongzhuang immediately approached the purple dawn dream lotus with the fastest speed. If the guardian beast was not around, then it was undoubtedly the best time to take the purple dawn dream lotus and run away. Bailey Hongzhuang was very fast. Her toes touched the surface of the water, and she quickly appeared next to the purple dawn dream lotus. She quickly plucked the purple dawn dream lotus. Although she was fast, she was very careful and did not damage the stem or leaves. As a doctor and an alchemist, she was very familiar with the treatment of medicinal herbs. He took out a crystal box from his chinquin bag and placed the purple dawn dream lotus inside. Only a crystal could preserve such a precious spiritual herb's medicinal power. After putting away the purple dawn dream lotus, Bailey Hongzhuang was relieved, but her eyes fell on the lake. The purple dawn dream lotus below, the purple dawn dream lotus, was also a treasure, but with their current situation, they did not have much time to waste. No matter how good the treasure was, one had to be alive to enjoy it. Bailey Hongzhuang knew this very well, so she was not greedy and immediately retreated to the lakeside. Let's go. Almost as soon as their feet touched the ground, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others quickly retreated. When the violet dream lotus was taken away, the guardian beast would be the first to sense it. No matter where it went, it would be back soon. Needless to say, they knew that the guardian beast's strength was extraordinary. Once it returned, they would be in danger. Di Baichen and the four beasts naturally understood this and immediately ran towards the outside. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were about to leave, a huge commotion came from the center of the lake. Immediately after, they felt a powerful pressure. That shocking aura made Bailey Hongzhuang and the others tremble. This level of cultivation was definitely a few levels higher than them. Despicable human! How dare you steal my purple dawn dream lotus? A low and angry voice was heard. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen were shocked. This guardian beast could already speak the human language. It probably had the ability to transform into a human. This level of demonic beast was an extremely terrifying existence. Chapter 4503. Following this angry roar, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt a strong pressure surrounding them. Under this pressure, they felt as if their bodies were weighed down by 1,000 pounds, and their movements became sluggish. Suddenly, the two people and the four beasts were shocked. They did not expect the guardian beast to be so powerful. Although they did not know much about the strength of cultivators of a higher level, they were sure that this level of strength was not something a Starlight Realm cultivator could possess. It was not even a Starlight Realm cultivator, but at least a Nebula Realm cultivator. With their current strength, in front of such a terrifying demonic beast, only death awaited them. As long as the other party made a move, they would be reduced to ashes in an instant. Since they could no longer escape, they simply turned around. When they saw the appearance of the monster behind them, they could not help but be shocked again. In their line of sight was a Qilin lion beast. The Qilin lion beast was a branch of the mythical Qilin. Its strength was extremely strong, and it was one of the top monsters. It could no longer be called a monster. It was already a mythical beast. From the moment this monster was born, its strength was already incomparable to that of a normal monster. Generally speaking, the average person would not have the chance to see such a mythical beast. Even in the Shengxian continent, there were only rumors of the Qilin lion beast characteristics, but no one had ever seen it. Even in the upper realm, many people had already thought that the Qilin lion beast had disappeared. They never thought that they would see it in the world inside the Chaos Ring. This was too terrifying. However, the Qilin lion beast in front of them was clearly different from the majestic appearance they had imagined. Its body was mostly destroyed, and its exposed skin was dripping with blood. One of its eyes was also blinded due to its injuries. The Qilin lion did not look as majestic as it usually did. On the contrary, it looked battered and exhausted. If not for the fact that they were certain of the Qilin lion's identity, it would have been difficult for them to connect the two together. It was only at this moment that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others understood. No wonder the Qilin lion beast did not come out. It was injured and should have been healing at the bottom of the lake. With such serious injuries, if they had not plucked the purple Dawn Dream Lotus, the Qilin lion beast would not have come out. This Qilin lion beast is actually so severely injured. It seems like there is another extremely powerful demonic beast nearby. To be able to injure the Qilin lion to this extent, that demonic beast must be extremely powerful. Xiaobai was amazed. It was rumored that there were not many demonic beasts that could injure a Qilin. If this Qilin demonic beast was still in its infancy stage, it would be fine. However, this Qilin demonic beast was already in its growth stage, and its strength was extremely shocking. Perhaps another powerful demonic beast knew that the purple Dawn Dream Lotus was about to mature and wanted to snatch it away. So a huge battle broke out between the two sides. Di Baichen's face was solemn. The Qilin lion's injuries were obviously caused not too long ago. Coincidentally, the purple Dawn Dream Lotus had matured. He did not believe that there could be such a coincidence. Since this Qilin lion beast is able to return, perhaps the other demonic beast has already fallen. Chapter 4504. If a cultivator lost a battle, most people would choose to run away. However, beasts usually fought head-on and would not give up until one of them was dead. With the Qilin lion's strength and level, its opponent must be its old rival. Once they fought, it would definitely end with the death of one of them. From the current situation, the other beast was most likely dead. Although the Qilin lion managed to kill its opponent, it was also severely injured. With such a serious injury, Bailey Hongzhuang could certainly judge that it would take a long time for it to recover. On the other hand, the Chilean lion's eyes were already damaged. Even if its injuries could be healed, its eyes would not be able to recover. The Chilean lion's strength is terrifying. Even if it is severely injured and only has a tenth of its strength left, it will not be easy for us to defeat it. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was solemn, and her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She did not expect the Chilean lion to be the guardian beast of the Violet Dawn Dream Lotus. If she had known, she would not have come to snatch it. After all, no matter how good a treasure was, one had to risk their life to enjoy it. It is almost impossible to face it head-on. The only thing we can do is to think of a way to escape. Di Beichen's voice was heavy. If the strength of this demon beast was at the Starlight Realm, they could still think of a way to fight it. However, the existence of the Nebula Realm was too strong for them right now. They were simply not a match for it. Facing such an opponent, if they did not escape, they would be courting death. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. We did not know that the Violet Dawn Dream Lotus had an owner. Please forgive us for offending you. The Violet Dawn Dream Lotus is here. I will return it to you. As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang placed the Violet Dawn Dream Lotus on the ground. I see that you are also severely injured. We will not disturb your rest. Although the Chilean lion was a beast, it had obviously reached the stage where it could transform into a human. Judging from its age, it was already nearing 40 years old. As soon as she finished speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest began to retreat and leave quickly. However, just as they were about to leave, a shackle suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking their escape route. Did I say you could leave? The Chilean lion's hoarse voice rang out behind them, sending chills down their spines. Senior, we have already returned everything to you. We have no intention of offending you. Please let us go. Di Beichun cupped his hands and said, now that the Chilean lion beast had the upper hand, the only thing they could do was to make the other party agree to let them leave. Otherwise, once they started fighting, there would definitely be casualties. I never thought that I would meet the Beast King in my lifetime. The Chilean lion's eyes were fixed on White Lion. From a moment it saw White Lion, it was filled with excitement. The Beast King was an extremely powerful race. Unfortunately, every time the next Beast King appeared, the previous Beast King would disappear. It was precisely because of this that the Beast King was the most powerful existence among the demonic beasts when it came to fighting alone. If the Beast King did not exist, it would not have bothered with these two humans. Now that it was so severely injured, it would be extremely difficult for it to recover. How could it be in the mood to care about others? Chapter 45:05. When the Chilean lion had turned its attention to it, the White Lion had sensed that something was amiss. If it had been an ordinary demonic beast, the White Lion would not have been afraid. However, the Chilean lion was a divine beast and had reached such a high level of cultivation. The White Lion was no match for the Chilean lion. Every Beast King's growth was extremely difficult because they could only fight alone. But at the same time, as long as a Beast King grew up, it would definitely become an extremely powerful existence. Although it looked like it had been cultivating for a long time, judging from the long life of a demonic beast, it had not yet reached the growth stage. The White Lion was not too worried when it encountered other demonic beasts. However, when it saw the severely injured Chilean lion in front of it, it felt extremely uneasy. It was a powerful threat. The White Lion could even guess the thoughts that had been etched in its heart for the first time in years. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other when they noticed the Chilean lion's interest in the White Lion. Their eyes were filled with worry. Usually, when a demonic beast notices that a Beast King has become a contract beast, it would feel extremely strange. This was a very normal reaction. However, they could sense a sense of unease from the Chilean lion's reaction. They felt that the Chilean lion was up to something else. As long as you leave this Beast King behind, you may leave. The Chilean lion stared lazily at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun, as if it had done them a great favor. In reality, they were merely two humans, and it did not care about them at all. Under normal circumstances, the Chilean lion would have easily gotten rid of the two humans. However, its injuries were more serious now, and it wanted to avoid fighting if it could. However, it must have this beast king. As the Qilin lion spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's hearts skipped a beat. They had been right to worry. The Qilin lion's target was the white lion. You want to suck the power from my blood and take over my body to become the next beast king? The white lion stared coldly at the Qilin lion. From the Qilin lion's greedy eyes, the white lion could guess its intentions. You're pretty smart. The Qilin lion beast laughed heartily. If you were strong enough, you wouldn't have to worry about this problem. It's a pity that you haven't grown up yet. My luck is really good. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, after hearing the conversation between the two demonic beasts, they were also shocked. They never thought that there would be such a method. As for the Beast Kings, they only knew that they were extremely powerful after they grew up, but there were many things that they did not know. Who would have thought that a Beast King could be seized? If that was the case, wouldn't the White Lion be in extreme danger? Baisher also knew Bailey Hongzhuang, and the two of them were extremely puzzled. He immediately explained, in fact, very few people know about this method. Only the other party is also a demonic beast, so it is possible for them to do such a thing. Otherwise, my bloodline power would suffer a severe backlash if ordinary demonic beasts tried to absorb it. Even if it wants to do so, it will have to pay a great price. Then why is it doing this? Chapter 4506. It's currently heavily injured. The previous battle has already damaged its source of power. Even if it recovers from its injuries, I'm afraid that its cultivation level will stagnate, and it will be very difficult for it to progress any further. The White Lion's expression was extremely solemn. As a demonic beast, it understood the situation very well. Furthermore, it was a beast king. As its powers increase, the inheritance in its bloodline is slowly awakening. It now understands many things that it did not understand in the past. Hence, it could tell at one glance that the Qilin lion's power source had been damaged. Under such circumstances, if the Qilin lion beast could take over his body and devour his soul, then not only would it become the next king of the beasts, all of its previous problems would also be solved. This was undoubtedly the best deal for him. As soon as this was said, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen understood. The Qilin lion and the Beast King were both divine beasts, but the Beast King was obviously more powerful. If the Qilin lion could transform into a Beast King, its potential would be limitless and its future achievements would be even greater. To the White Lion, this was a very good deal. However, they never thought that there would be such a rule between demonic beasts. This was simply too cruel. Even though only divine beasts could do this, it was extremely dangerous to encounter one. After all, a Beast King would need a long time to grow. During this period of time, anything could happen. Previously, they had thought too simply and never thought that something like this would happen. If they had been hoping for a fluke before, they now knew that they would have to fight to the death. The Qilin lion would never let the White Lion go, and neither would they give up on the White Lion. Hence, they must fight this battle. Since you already know my plan, why don't you just agree to it? This way, I can still let them leave alive. Otherwise, they will have to die with you. The Qilin lion's eyes were malicious and vicious. Its solemn vow was filled with confidence, as if it had already decided that this ending would not change. Hearing this, the White Lion looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen with mixed feelings. It was absolutely unwilling to be captured without putting up a fight, but if that was the case, wouldn't it implicate its master and Beichen? Noticing the change in Baisher's expression, the fair-faced Hongzhuang replied without hesitation, "If you want to fight, then fight. What's the point of saying so much nonsense?" At this moment, Di Beichen looked at White Lion. If this Qilin lion beast dies, what good will it do you? In the great wide world, many things were relatively fair. Since the Qilin lion could benefit so much from the White Lion, the White Lion should be able to benefit as well. Otherwise, it would be too unfair. If I can kill it and absorb its bloodline power, my cultivation will improve greatly and my talent will become even more outstanding. The White Lion said, but it was a little confused. It did not know why Di Beichen asked it this question. Di Beichen nodded and said, "In that case, we will kill this Qilin lion beast and pave the way for your cultivation." Hearing this, the Qilin lion beast laughed. "How dare you say such nonsense in front of me? You are really a newborn calf that is not afraid of a tiger. Chapter 4507. As soon as the Chilean lion beast finished speaking, a powerful force burst out from within its body. Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichun, and the four beasts were ready to attack. Even though the Chilean lion beast was of a higher rank than them, as long as there was a chance, they would not give up. The moment the Chilean lion beast attacked, they knew that it was of the metal element. Among the 5 elements, metal was the element with the most destructive power. Instantly, everyone's hearts sank. This metal-type Chilean lion beast would be even more difficult to deal with. Even so, their fighting spirit did not change in the slightest. They were a team. Even if all of them were to die here today, they would not give up on the white lion. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' high fighting spirit, the Chilean lion beast was displeased. It was a dignified divine beast. Usually, no matter if it was a demonic beast or a cultivator, they would all retreat when they saw it. However, these guys in front of it were obviously much weaker than it, but they didn't show the slightest bit of fear. This made it feel very unhappy. It wanted to see these guys tremble in fear in front of it. In the next moment, the Chilean lion beast's body flashed. It raised its hand and a ray of metal-type energy attacked. This was clearly a casual attack, but Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could feel an extremely powerful metal-type energy. The sharp aura rushed towards them, and they felt as if a knife had sliced across their faces. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun did not dare to underestimate the attack of a Nebula Realm demonic beast. Even though the Chilean lion beast was heavily injured, it was not something that a Starlight Realm cultivator could handle. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun unleashed their martial arts techniques at the same time, charging towards the golden ray of light. The two powerful forces collided. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately realized how terrifying the metal-type energy of the Chilean lion beast was. The sharpness of the attack was not something they had seen before. Their martial arts techniques were almost sliced into two by the golden ray of light. Fortunately, the two attacks met the golden light at the same time, but Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun still couldn't help but take 2 steps back. The two of them looked at each other in astonishment. This was the advantage of cultivating elemental powers. Back in the demonic dragon abyss, when they were being chased by assassins, they also had the same feeling. The opponent's condensed power was too strong, and the martial skills they used were simply unable to deal with it. If they were not aware of this back then, they now understood after witnessing the Chilean lion's methods. It was no wonder that all cultivators had to undergo the awakening of their innate talents. After the awakening, their combat power was simply incomparable to before the awakening. The Chilean lion was not surprised to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun fending off its attack. It was just a casual attack. If they could not withstand it, they would be too weak. You dare to fight me with such little strength? You're courting death. The Chilean lion beast was stunned. Then it waved its hands, and dozens of golden rays of light rained down on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Seeing this, the expressions of the 2 people and the 4 beasts changed. One golden ray of light was already difficult enough to fend off. One could imagine how difficult it would be to fend off dozens of golden rays of light. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun did not hesitate to unleash their martial arts techniques. The 4 beasts also unleashed their elemental energy. Ding, ding, ding. The 6 of them retreated quickly and attacked. Chapter 4508. In the span of a few breaths, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were covered in over 10 wounds. Their robes were stained red with blood. In comparison, the 4 beasts were in a much better condition. They were mystical beasts after all. The defensive power of their skin and flesh was not something that human cultivators could compare to. I never thought that the Chilean lion would still be so powerful even after suffering such serious injuries. Xiaohei's expression was ugly and somber. She never thought that this creature would be so difficult to deal with despite its hideous appearance. Fortunately, we encountered it when it was severely injured. If it had been at its peak, we would have died before we even had the chance to speak. Di Beichun's expression darkened. If it had not been for this situation, they would not have had the chance to put their lives on the line. However, the Chilean lion did not intend to give them any time to catch their breath. Immediately after, it launched another attack. Compared to the previous two attacks, this one was undoubtedly more powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang could sense a thick, murderous aura from the sharp and cold attack. This was a threat to their lives. If they were not careful, they could very well be killed by this attack. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen unleashed their full powers. Vigorous inner energy flowed out from their bodies endlessly, forming into powerful martial techniques. White Lion clearly knew that they could not allow this to continue. Otherwise, their master would be exhausted to death by the Qilin Lion. Let's think of a way to ambush it. The Qilin Lion's cultivation level was much higher than theirs. Its attacks were not something that they could easily defend against. Hence, the only thing they could do was to ambush it from close range. Although this was more dangerous, there was no other way except for this dangerous method. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Xuanzi nodded and followed White Lion's instructions. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen tried their best to attract the Qilin Lion's attention, while White Lion took the opportunity to ambush them. However, even though the Qilin Lion was fighting with Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Xuanzi, its attention had never once left White Lion. Although White Lion's cultivation was only at the Starlight Realm, it was still a beast king. The Qilin Lion did not dare to let its guard down in front of the king of demonic beasts since ancient times. No matter what era the Beast King was in, it could not be underestimated. This was a great opportunity for it. If it were to fail miserably because of this, it would not be worth it. Under such circumstances, Baisher's expression was extremely ugly. If this continued, the situation would only get worse. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's injuries were increasing. The two of them did not hesitate to take the healing medicine, and their injuries were quickly healing. However, compared to the speed of the injuries, the healing speed was clearly slower. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and said, "We can't go on like this. We'll only be suppressed by him and won't be able to take the initiative." Although they had already expected this situation, when they actually fought, the situation was obviously worse than they thought. At this moment, she could not help but feel that they were really lucky to have not clashed with cultivators who were well-versed in elemental powers. Otherwise, based on their previous methods, it would not have been easy for them to win. Even though they had fully activated their blood, aura, and murderous aura, they were still at a disadvantage. She secretly decided that if she could survive today, she must quickly comprehend the cultivation method of elemental powers. Chapter 4509. Elemental energy is much stronger than normal elemental energy. Even though we are not familiar with the use of elemental energy, we can still try using it. Perhaps we can turn the tables around. Di Beichen's dark eyes shone with a complicated and persistent light. His voice was low and serious. This was a method that they could try now. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. It had not been long since she had obtained the light elemental energy cultivation method. Furthermore, she had been recuperating for a long time. Hence, she did not have a good grasp of the light elemental energy. However, there was no better way than this. Since elemental energy was much stronger than normal elemental energy, it might be useful if she used it. All right, let's give it a try. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang changed her hand gesture. The light elemental energy flashed from her hand. The rich light elemental energy emitted a dazzling white light. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's control, the light elemental energy condensed into a white ball and attacked the Qilin Lion Beast without hesitation. The Qilin Lion Beast had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had not cultivated elemental energy. It was stunned when it saw this scene. It's the light elemental energy. The Qilin Lion Beast's eyes flashed with surprise. It did not expect this young man to have mastered the light elemental energy. However, it was obvious that this cultivator had not cultivated the light elemental energy for long. This kind of light ball would not be able to do much damage to it. The Qilin Lion Beast opened its mouth and a golden energy shot out, destroying the light ball immediately. At the same time, Di Beichen also released his dark elemental energy. He had inherited the dark elemental energy. Even though it had not been long since his elemental energy transformed into the dark elemental energy, he had a much deeper understanding of it. As the dark elemental energy continued to surge, Bailey Hongzhuang and the four beasts were shocked to see that the originally bright sky was suddenly covered in darkness. Everything around them was so dark that they could not even see their own fingers. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang took the opportunity to release her dark elemental energy to help Deep Beichen set up the darkness. When the Qilin lions saw the dark energy, it was even more shocked. Among all the attributes, the 5 elements were the most common. The possibility of awakening a mutated attribute was very small. It did not expect the 2 people in front of it to have mutated attributes. Moreover, they were light and darkness. White Lion and Xiao Bai immediately unleashed their powers of darkness. With Deep Beichen's strength, it was clearly very taxing for him to create such a large area of darkness. With the appearance of the darkness, the Qilin lion's vision was blocked. On the other hand, Deep Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, White Lion, and Xiao Bai all had dark attributes. Hence, even though their vision was covered in darkness, they could still see clearly without any hindrance. They only felt that under the shroud of darkness, everything was so clear, even clearer than before when they used their eyes to see. Even if you use this power of darkness to affect my vision, what use is it to you? The Qilin lion sneered. In its eyes, Deep Beichen and the others were just putting up a desperate struggle. This kind of darkness could only affect its vision, but it could not completely blind it. A mantis trying to stop a chariot, a fool's dream. Chapter 45:10. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest could not be bothered with the Qilin lion's taunting words. They were indeed at a disadvantage, but as long as they seized the opportunity, they would definitely kill the Qilin lion. With just one look, Bailey Hongzhuang had already understood Di Beichen's idea and immediately attacked the Qilin lion again. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to sneak attack it, the Qilin lion's eyes became more and more sarcastic. Sneak attacks were indeed a method, but when the difference in strength between the two was too great, it was meaningless. So what if its reaction speed was slower? Bailey Hongzhuang still could not attack it. When Bailey Hongzhuang made her move, Di Beichen also made his move. He merged his body into the darkness. This was one of the uses of the dark power, concealment. He had not set up this darkness to stop the Qilin lion beast, but to hide himself. Only in this way, a sneak attack was the most suitable. Baisher's movements were also extremely fast. As a beast king, it had a unique ability to cultivate and understand. Previously, it had only heard Deep Beichen mention the concealment method of the dark power. At this moment, seeing Deep Beichen use it, it also succeeded in merging itself into the darkness. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 beasts did their best to attack the Qilin lion. What they wanted to do was to attract all the attention of the Qilin lion so that it could not find Di Beichen and Baisher. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts continued to attack, sometimes left and sometimes right, making it impossible for the Qilin lion to judge. Noticing this scene, the Qilin lion's eyes flashed with anger and impatience. Previously, it had lost an eye in the battle. Now, it only had one eye left and its vision was blocked. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' attacks did not cause too much damage to it, it felt like a few flies were constantly flying in front of it. It was harmless, but extremely annoying. Suddenly, the Qilin lion attacked Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts. It wanted to completely destroy these annoying guys. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts were always paying attention to the Qilin lion's movements. When they saw it flying towards them, they quickly retreated. Their original intention was not to defeat the Qilin lion, but to disturb it. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the Qilin lion were entangled, a figure suddenly flashed out of the darkness, followed by an extremely bright light in front of the Qilin lion's eyes. Bright and resplendent light quietly flashed in this dense darkness, blooming with extreme brilliance that almost caused people's eyes to stagnate for a moment. The Qilin lion beast instinctively closed its eyes. It had just gotten used to the darkness, and now that it was suddenly exposed to light, it was extremely uncomfortable. Taking advantage of the Qilin lion's pause, Di Beichen quickly pressed the light ball in his hand into the Qilin lion's eye. The Qilin lion only felt a strong threat, and its body quickly retreated. However, Di Beichen's reaction was also extremely fast. He had already thought of all the countermeasures at the moment of the sneak attack. From the moment he made his move, he was determined to win. Zila! A sound rang out. Di Baichun had succeeded. The light ball had been pressed into the Qilin lion's other eye. Chapter 45:11. Seeing that Di Baichun had succeeded, Bailey Hongzhuang and the four beasts' eyes flashed with excitement. Since the beginning of the battle, they had been at a disadvantage and had been completely suppressed by the Qilin lion. Now that Di Baichun had destroyed the Qilin lion's other eye, the Qilin lion's condition had worsened. At the very least, the Qilin lion was now completely blind. Although it could still sense its surroundings with its divine consciousness, its surroundings were filled with their dark energy, and its divine consciousness was blocked. This was good news for them. The Qilin lion covered its bleeding eye. It never thought that it would fail miserably at such an easy task and be ambushed by Di Baichun. Now, it had become completely blind. How hateful! You deserve to die. All of you deserve to die. The Qilin lion roared angrily. Its roar was filled with a strong sense of oppression and anger. It had been blinded in one of its eyes by these people who had completely disregarded it. What a disgrace! Since you've made me look like this, I must kill the Beast King and take over its body to become the next Beast King. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were not bothered by the Qilin lion's threat. The Qilin lion had been planning to do this all along. Now, the situation had not changed at all. On the contrary, they had finally earned some interest. Just as the Qilin lion was raging, Baishur's figure quietly appeared from the darkness. He attacked the Qilin lion's waist with his claws. This ugly fellow still wants to take over my body? Dream on. At the same time, the Qilin lion felt a strong sense of threat. It flew away, and its reaction speed increased to the maximum. Baishur's attack came stealthily. However, even though the Qilin lion dodged quickly, it did not manage to slice open its stomach. It only managed to slice off a piece of flesh from its waist. Although the Qilin lion's body was very strong, Baishur's claws were as sharp as a magical weapon. Under his attack, the Qilin lion's body was no different from an ordinary person's. The Qilin lion's face turned extremely ugly as it felt the excruciating pain in its waist. Only now did it understand why Di Baichun had used his dark energy. It was still in shock. If it had not reacted quickly enough, Baishur's claws would have torn its body apart. It did not expect these few Starlight State cultivators to be so powerful when they joined forces. They were much more powerful than the Starlight State cultivators and demonic beasts that it had usually encountered. It no longer dared to underestimate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, because if it went on like this, it was likely to lose its life in the hands of these guys. It would not only be a joke, it would be an unbearable humiliation. I never thought that I would underestimate you. The Qilin lion beast's voice was cold and menacing, but it was more of a stare. From now on, Eyes Baichun, right, I'll give you a chance. The Qilin lion's in's aura, its auras, its... Noticing the change in the Qilin lion beast, Di Baichun and Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. Chapter 45:12. Initially, the Qilin lion beast had treated Bailey Hongzhuang and the others as playthings that it could not resist. Hence, it had been toying with them, enjoying the sight of them slowly losing their strength and despair. However, it did not expect that these ants in its eyes would actually blind its other eye. This was something that it could not tolerate. It wanted to end this battle as soon as possible, so that these ants would all die. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A rain of golden blades enveloped Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The Qilin lion beast had no intention of dealing with them one by one. It had used an area of effect attack and wanted to leave these fellows with 1,000 holes in their bodies. Noticing this attack, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' expressions changed greatly. This attack was much more powerful than any of the Qilin lion beast's previous attacks. Watch out, Di Baichun shouted. At the same time, he released his dark energy and formed a large net over their heads, blocking the rain of golden blades. The golden blades rained down, bringing with them an unparalleled sharpness as they charged into the dark net. Bailey Hongzhuang and the beasts quickly used their elemental energy to fill up the dark net. However, despite their best efforts, many golden blades still managed to pierce through the dark net and land on them. In a short period of time, Many more wounds appeared on their bodies. The faint smell of blood filled the air. The 2 humans and the 4 beasts were battered and exhausted. However, their eyes were still bright, and their unyielding fighting spirit was still burning brightly, never extinguished. Seeing that its golden blades had not taken their lives, the Chilean lion beast's expression turned ugly. Under normal circumstances, an ant like this could be easily killed. However, these fellows were not as simple as they seemed. Just the fact that they had been able to last so long against the Chilean lion beast was already a feat. Just as the rain of golden blades dissipated, Beichun and the others' attacks began to circle around the Chilean lion beast once again. Indeed, they were no match for the Chilean lion beast. Their only option was to ambush its vital points and injure it severely. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang took a few steps back and formed another hand seal. However, the hand seal this time was different from before. It was filled with a mysterious and unusual power. Complex runes quietly took shape, and a shining door quietly appeared on the ground. Immediately after, a powerful aura lingered from this door. Feeling the strong power, both Beichun and the Chilean lion beast could not help but look towards Bailey Hongzhuang. In their line of sight, a giant centipede suddenly appeared. Its huge body stood up and cast a huge shadow. Bailey Hongzhuang looked extremely small in front of it. Beichun looked at the sudden appearance of the centipede in shock. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had told him about this scene before, it was far from the shock of seeing it with his own eyes. His heart was already in turmoil. What kind of method was this? He had never heard of such a shocking technique. Even though he was just casually sensing it, he could tell that this centipede was also at the nebula realm. The Chilean lion beast, who had the upper hand, was now dumbfounded. Such a strong aura. If it was at its peak, it might be able to put up a fight. However, it was now severely injured and was definitely not a match for this centipede. It did not have the time to think about how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to get such a powerful beast here. It made a prompt decision and retreated. Chapter 45:13. Kill it. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy cold. Previously, the Chilean lion had been bent on killing them. Now that they had the upper hand, she would not let the Chilean lion off so easily. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's command, the giant centipede quickly chased after the Chilean lion. Although the centipede was huge, its speed was not slow at all. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest quickly chased after the Chilean lion. The Chilean lion was very beneficial to White Lion's advancement. Now that the Chilean lion's defeat was certain, they could not let go of this great opportunity. Indeed, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest caught up to them, the Chilean lion was constantly retreating. It was clearly no match for the giant centipede. I'll give you all of the purple dawn dream lotus. Please let me live. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had arrived, the Chilean lion quickly begged for mercy. It had thought that these fellows were just insignificant ants. It did not expect them to have such heaven-defying means. If it had known this earlier, it would never have chosen to leave these fellows alive. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Why didn't you let us off when we said that? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. In this world, power was everything. She would be an idiot if she were to let the Chilean lion go. Furthermore, the Chilean lion was very helpful to White Lion. Hearing this, the Chilean lion's heart sank. It looks like it was doomed today. White Lion looked at the Chilean lion with a burning gaze. I will absorb the power of your bloodline and increase the speed of my advancement. If it had not been for the Chilean lion's evil intentions, it would never have thought of this. However, now that such an opportunity had been placed in front of it, it would not let it go. Master, don't kill the Chilean lion. I want to absorb the power of its bloodline while it's still alive, White Lion said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. When the giant centipede had beaten the Chilean lion until it was covered in wounds and unable to retaliate, she finally stopped the giant centipede. Then, she turned to look at White Lion. White Lion immediately understood and walked to the Chilean lion's side. The Chilean lion beast's eyes were filled with fear as it watched White Lion approach. Don't you dare absorb the power of my bloodline. Once the Chilean lion had its bloodline power, it would become a tool for White Lion's advancement, and it would never be reincarnated. Why didn't you say that when you wanted to take over my body? White Lion was taken aback. He grabbed the Chelan lion beast's dantian with his claws. Then, a mysterious rune appeared, and a blood-red energy flowed from the Chelan lion beast's dantian into the rune. The con lions on, but it was on it ons, on it knew what to do no. They had. Hongzhuang lion knew what it on lion was on beyond. After the giant centipede had completed its task, Bailey Hongzhuang drew another rune, and the giant centipede disappeared into thin air. My dear wife, this summoned centipede looks like the one we killed in the desert world? Di Beichen's pitch-black eyes sparkled. This kind of summoning was really too powerful. As long as they could summon, they would have a Nebula Realm helper. Their strength would undoubtedly increase by a lot. Chapter 45:14. At that time, she had suddenly understood something that she had never understood. If it were not for the crisis at that time, she was afraid that she would have needed a period of time to study it thoroughly. Master, is there a limit to summoning this monster beast? Xiao He could not help but ask. If there was no limit, then this was really a terrifying method. However, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Actually, I can't summon it 100% successfully at the moment. As soon as she said this, Di Beichen and the three beasts looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, waiting for her to continue. When the Chelan monster beast appeared previously, I also tried to summon it, but it was not successful. From the moment the Chelan monster beast appeared, she knew that they were in danger and wanted to summon it. Moreover, she came here to train herself and wanted to try to summon it. However, she tried to condense a hand sign, but did not get the result she wanted. When I tried to summon it again, just now, I found that the summoning has something to do with my divine sense. I need to have enough divine sense to summon it, and if my divine sense is not stable enough, the summoning will not succeed. The success of the first summoning was a coincidence. Now, when she tried to summon it again, she found these problems. When the Chelan lion beast first appeared, because her state was not stable, the summoning failed. I see. Di Beichen nodded. In his opinion, this summoning must have certain requirements. If there were no requirements, then it would be really strange. With my current divine sense, I can only summon it once. It is impossible to summon a second monster beast. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with helplessness. She had only summoned once, but she had already felt that her spiritual power had been consumed. Although it was not a big problem now, it would take some time to replenish her divine sense. After all, the recovery of divine sense was not as fast as primary energy, and it was much slower. This ability is already very heaven-defying. Di Beichun said slowly. Divine sense will slowly grow as your strength increases. As long as your divine sense is strong enough, you will be able to summon more monsters in the future. Although Bailey Hongzhuang could only summon one demonic beast at the moment, they were all very clear that this ability was definitely a great weapon. At the very least, they had the ability to fight even if they encountered a Nebula Realm powerhouse. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She was pleasantly surprised by this discovery. This ability could be said to be an additional layer of protection for them. While they were talking, Baishur had successfully absorbed the Chelan lion beast's bloodline power. When they looked at the Chelan lion again, it was already dead. On the contrary, Baishur's body exuded an extremely powerful force. Master, I've just absorbed the bloodline power of the Chelan lion beast. I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion for a while, White Lion said slowly. The Chelan lion beast was a mythical beast, and its cultivation level was higher than his. Now that he had absorbed the Chelan lion beast's energy, it was undoubtedly a great supplement. However, digesting this power was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Don't worry and go into seclusion. They were looking forward to seeing how much progress White Lion would make when he came out of seclusion. Just thinking about it, they knew that the progress would not be small. Chapter 45:15. Mystical beasts had their own territories. The Chelan lion beast level was so high that its territory was even more vast. Although the Chelan lion beast corpse had fallen, they still did not have to worry. No mystical beast would dare to step into the Chelan lion beast territory in a short period of time. Therefore, While the White Lion Beast was cultivating in seclusion, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were healing their wounds. They had entered this place and would need at least 3 days to leave. However, they were not in a hurry to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang entered the center of the lake again. Previously, she was worried that there would be danger here, so she had hurriedly left after plucking the purple Dawn Dream Lotus. Now that the Qilin Lion Beast had been beheaded, she could dig up the purple Dawn Dream Lotus along with the purple Dawn Dream Lotus. The purple Dawn Dream Lotus was also a treasure. Its effect was very similar to the purple Dawn Dream Lotus, but its uses were more extensive. Since she was here, she naturally would not miss out on such a treasure. After Bailey Hongzhuang entered the center of the lake, it was not long before she plucked the purple Dawn Dream Lotus. Our luck is not bad. This purple Dawn Dream Lotus has a total of 3 segments. If we succeed in refining pills, we can refine a lot of them. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was full of joy. When she saw the purple Dawn Dream Lotus, she felt very excited because it was helpful in improving her consciousness. However, since she knew that the mystical beast she wanted to summon was also related to her consciousness, she was even happier. With these pills, she would be able to improve her divine sense. If she could summon more mystical beasts in the future, their combat effectiveness would be greatly enhanced. Since coming to the upper realm, they were treading on thin ice because there were too many masters here. Once they offended a master, they would be doomed eternally. Now that they had such means, if they could improve a little more, even if they encountered an assassin like before, they would not fall into such a helpless situation. The primary energy in this forest world is quite abundant. Maybe there will be a lot of treasures here. We can come here often in the future. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile. He could feel Bailey Hongzhuang's happiness. In the past, when they were in the desert world and the ocean world, they didn't gain much. In comparison, the forest world's harvest was much higher. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Indeed, this place is not much different from the forest outside. At the same time, we can save a lot of time. This is undoubtedly the best choice for us now. After taking the medicine, Bailey Hongzhuang's men recovered quickly. Although the Qilin Lion Beast attack was fierce, most of their injuries were superficial and not fatal. The elemental energy in the Qilin Lion Beast residence is extremely dense. If one cultivates here, the speed of improvement will be faster. Why don't you all cultivate here for a while? I'll take this opportunity to refine some pills. Now that she already had the purple Dawn Dream Lotus and purple Dawn Dream Lotus, she also happened to have other medicinal herbs. He could take advantage of this opportunity to refine the spirit tempering pill. The sooner he improved his divine sense, the sooner he could improve his strength. After all, only strength was his own. The demonic beasts in this forest world were much stronger than the ones they had encountered before. They had to increase their strength as soon as possible in order to survive. Okay, Di Beichen nodded. Chapter 45:16. Although it had been a while since she refined pills, Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills had long been integrated into her mind. Now that she was refining pills again, she was extremely skilled. She did not immediately start refining the spirit tempering pill. The spirit tempering pill was a grade 7 pill, so it was naturally difficult to refine. However, she was still full of confidence in herself. The improvement of alchemy skills was related to cultivation. The higher one's cultivation, the stronger one's divine sense, and the easier it would be to refine pills. She believed that as long as she was given some time to adapt, she would be able to successfully refine grade 7 pills. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang took out some medicinal herbs needed to refine grade 6 pills. Refining grade 6 pills was not a problem for her, but she needed to familiarize herself with refining them. One by one, Bailey Hongzhuang put the medicinal herbs into the pill furnace. She focused her mind and looked calm. Her hands performed alchemy skills as if she was picking flowers. The impurities of the medicinal herbs were quickly removed and turned into an extremely pure medicinal liquid essence. As soon as her alchemy skills changed, the medicinal liquid essence began to condense. Not long after, a strong medicinal fragrance spread out from the pill furnace, making Di Beichen and the 3 beasts, who were cultivating, feel refreshed. Looking at the 12 grade 6 recovery pills in the pill furnace, Bailey Hongzhuang revealed a satisfied smile. These grade 6 recovery pills could restore the origin power of Starlight Realm and even Nebula Realm cultivators, but the higher one's level, the lower the effect of the recovery. This kind of consumption-type medicinal pill was always in high demand no matter when. Since coming to the upper realm, Bailey Hongzhuang had seen all kinds of strong cultivators here, and only then did she realize how small they were. Under such circumstances, they must improve their cultivation as soon as possible. Pills were undoubtedly a great tool to improve one's strength. The higher the grade of the pill, the more helpful it was to them. Not only that, spirit stones could help them cultivate, but they only had low-grade spirit stones before. As far as she knew, the cultivation effect of middle-grade and high-grade spirit stones was far superior to low-grade spirit stones. If possible, she hoped to use these pills to exchange for high-grade spirit stones. After all, nothing was more important to them than increasing their strength. After refining the first batch of pills, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop. Instead, she continued to refine the second batch of pills. With her current ability, refining these pills could be said to be effortless. Even if she refined them consecutively, it wouldn't affect her at all. Moreover, she had planned to refine pills here in peace for the next few days. Just as they thought, the Qilin Lion Beast was quite famous in this area. Even though the Qilin Lion Beast had fallen, no other demonic beasts dared to approach this area. On the contrary, the origin energy here was extremely dense, exceeding their imagination. When they'd first arrived in the upper realm, they'd noticed that the origin energy in the upper realm was extremely abundant. However, the origin energy here was clearly denser than the upper realm. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun had already decided to go into seclusion here in the future. Not only was the origin chi here rich, but the time here was also only a third of the time outside. This was undoubtedly the best place for rapid improvement. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest still showed no signs of leaving. Chapter 45:17. At the very least, they couldn't move by Sure as they wished at this moment. It would be terrible if their actions affected by Sure. They were also worried about leaving by Sure here alone. Xiren and the rest have just gone to the various large guilds to collect their cultivation methods. They must be in seclusion for the next few days. We are not in a hurry to go out. Di Beichun walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. There were many elixir bottles beside her. Obviously, these were the results of Bailey Hongzhuang's refinement over the past 3 days. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded. I'm afraid they're trying their best to convert their elemental energy into elemental energy. I'm afraid they won't be coming out anytime soon. Let's take this opportunity to cultivate here. The elemental energy here is very dense. I should be able to break through in 2 days. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face revealed a joyful and excited smile. You're going to break through to the Starlight Realm? Di Beichun nodded. I'm already at the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm. I felt the shackles in the past 2 days. I think I will be able to break through the shackles and break through to the Starlight Realm soon. That's great. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a bright smile, like a blooming lotus. Once one broke through to the next realm, the increase in strength would be incomparable to a Starlight Realm cultivator. Wife, the elemental energy here is very dense. Why don't you cultivate here? Di Beichun looked at Di Beichun. It would be a waste not to seize the opportunity in such a suitable place for cultivation. Although I'm refining elixir, my cultivation method has been circulating on its own. My cultivation is also improving. Her pitch-black eyes rippled with a faint radiance. The grade of her demon summoning scripture wasn't something an ordinary cultivation method could compare to. Ever since she could summon demonic beasts, she realized that her demon summoning scripture seemed to have broken through another grade. Her cultivation speed was much faster than before. Although she was wholeheartedly focused on refining elixir, there was still an endless stream of elemental energy entering her dantian and increasing her cultivation invisibly. I see. Di Beichun nodded in understanding. He had long known that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation method was not ordinary. In fact, there was not a single item in this chaos ring that was simple. He had a Heaven's Will physique, so his cultivation speed was extremely fast. Although his merit law was outstanding in the lower realms, it couldn't compare to Bailey Hongzhuang's merit law. Wife, why are you concocting so many medicinal pills? Di Beichen looked at the many pills. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to familiarize herself with alchemy techniques, she would only need to refine a few batches of pills. However, it was clear that this was not a few batches. I plan to exchange for some cultivation resources that are beneficial to us after we get out. Although we earned some spirit stones when we were in the lower realm, the upper realm also consumed a lot of spirit stones. We have to do our best to make up for it. When they were in the lower realm, they were indeed quite wealthy. However, they did not stay on Ponlai Island for long. Naturally, they did not earn many spirit stones. On the contrary, they had a lot of gold coins. However, in the upper realm, the common currency was spirit stones. Gold coins were obviously useless. In the future, they would not be staying in Rome and city all the time. There were many places that needed spirit stones. Moreover, they also needed spirit stones for their cultivation. If they waited until then, they would be extremely depressed. Chapter 45:18. Wife, I didn't think the heavy responsibility of earning spiritual stones would fall on your shoulders. I am ashamed. Di Beichen's eyes were deep and ashamed. Originally, he should be the one to take care of this, but in reality, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been the one in charge of this. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand. The art of alchemy is something I have never planned to give up. Even on a normal day, I have to practice alchemy myself. Right now, I am only using these dawn to exchange for what we need. It is only right. I didn't think I would find a rich woman. Di Beichen chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang playfully raised her eyebrows. Then you have to coax me well. Otherwise, if I am not happy, you will become a pauper. Of course. Di Beichen nodded. Why don't I serve you well after we go back? Seeing the flirtatious look in Di Beichen's eyes and the naughty smile on his lips, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood what he was talking about. She blushed and said, That depends on my mood. Wife, don't worry. I will make sure you are in a mood. After joking around, Di Beichen regained his composure. Wife, I have been preparing to study arrays. Arrays? Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised. Arrays did have many uses for cultivators. For example, they were often used for spirit-gathering arrays, trapping arrays, and killing arrays. The most widely used array was the spirit-gathering array. Through the spirit-gathering array, one could gather the surrounding spiritual energy into the array. Cultivating in this spirit-gathering array would result in twice the result with half the effort. However, Di Beichen had never come into contact with arrays before. Why would he suddenly want to study arrays? Di Beichen nodded slightly. I receive an inheritance about arrays in my inheritance. There are many useful arrays recorded in it. Because I've been busy before, I didn't have time to study it. Now that I have time, I plan to study this array. It should be helpful to us in the future. Not to mention other things, just this spirit-gathering array alone. If he could set up a spirit-gathering array here, then their cultivation speed would definitely increase again. Sure, Bailey Hongzhuang agreed. Since you've obtained this inheritance and are interested in it, don't waste it. Although many people believe that it was best for cultivators to focus on the path of cultivation, and studying other things would only delay their own cultivation, Bailey Hongzhuang obviously didn't take this point seriously. At least, this point didn't affect her at all. She believed that with Beichen's ability, this wouldn't be a problem either. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang also agreed with his decision, Di Beichen raised his hand and hugged Bailey Hongzhuang. After planting a kiss on her forehead, he sat down beside her and took out the array Dao to study. Looking at Di Beichen seriously studying beside her, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips unconsciously overflowed with a happy and sweet smile. Even if it was just sitting side by side with Beichen like this, she already felt very happy. After Di Beichen started to study arrays, he immersed himself wholeheartedly. In the past, when he didn't know much about arrays, he didn't feel it. After going deep into it, he discovered that arrays were so mysterious. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. It was really too mysterious. Chapter 45:19. Looking at the purple cloud dream lotus in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with bright light. With the materials she currently had, she could only refine one furnace of spirit-tempering pills, so she must not fail. This spirit-tempering pill had many benefits, and the purple cloud dream lotus was a rare and precious medicinal material. It would be a pity to waste it. She had already made up her mind. If she could successfully refine this furnace of spirit-tempering pills, she would retreat here for a while to improve her divine sense. In fact, she also understood that the time she could summon the beast was also related to her divine sense. If her divine sense was not enough, the beast she summoned could leave at any time. This was her big trump card, and she should try her best to improve it. After she came out, she would buy more medicinal materials. Bei-chan was immersed in array Dao at the moment, but he still lacked some materials, otherwise he couldn't help but start to set up arrays. The three beasts also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to start refining spirit-tempering pills, so they kept a certain distance from her, but did not disturb her. As Bailey Hongzhuang began refining, the medicinal materials were refined into medicinal essences under her control. It was not until she began to refine the purple cloud dream lotus that her movements slowed down a little. This did not mean that refining the purple cloud dream lotus was difficult for her. She just had to be more cautious. The higher the grade of medicinal materials, the more difficult it was to refine, and she wanted to improve the purity as much as possible. The higher the purity, the better the effect of the pill. Now she needed a strong divine sense, so it was excellent to have a better effect. As she slowly refined, the impurities in the purple cloud dream lotus became less and less, and its purity became higher and higher. It was not until the purity was refined to the limit of her ability that Bailey Hongzhuang condensed the pill. Not long after, the three beasts smelled a strong pill fragrance. This pill fragrance made them feel refreshed, as if all their fatigue disappeared in an instant, and their divine sense seemed to be purified. Even Bei-chan, who was immersed in array Dao, couldn't help but look over after feeling his divine sense being purified. "Wife, did you successfully refine the spirit-tempering pill?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. "Yes, it has been successfully refined. There are a total of 12 pills in this furnace. It should be able to improve our divine sense. I'm preparing to enter seclusion. Just focus on your closed-door training," Bei-chan replied. "Don't worry about anything else." This place was extremely safe. Compared to the Azure Dragon School, this place was more suitable for seclusion. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't delay. After adjusting her state, she took a spirit-tempering pill and went into seclusion. Under such a dense elemental energy environment, Xiao Xuanzi was the first to break through. Its cultivation was the lowest, so its breakthrough speed was also the fastest. After little Xuanzi broke through, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also broke through one after another. This place was really too suitable for cultivation. No wonder the Qilin Lion Beast was able to raise its cultivation to such an extent. It actually found such a good place to make its cave abode. Xiao He couldn't help but sigh. Thinking about it, no matter who stayed in this place for a long time, their cultivation wouldn't be bad. If White Lion had also cultivated in such a place before, its strength would definitely be higher than the Qilin Lion Beast. But now this place is ours. I'm more curious about how much White Lion strength will increase after devouring the Qilin Lion Beast bloodline power. Chapter 45:20. 7 days later, Bailey Hongzhuang finally opened her eyes. Her elegant and beautiful face revealed a surprised smile. "Bei-chan, this spirit-tempering pill really has the effect of improving one's divine sense. My divine sense has improved significantly. As an alchemist, her divine sense was stronger than ordinary cultivators. However, her divine sense was still not enough to summon a demonic beast. After taking the spirit-tempering pill, her divine sense had expanded a lot. If she wanted to summon a demonic beast before, she would definitely be able to do so now." Seeing the surprise on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Bei-chan's lips curved into a faint smile. The spirit-tempering pill is a 7th grade pill. It's naturally very effective. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Indeed, not to mention the fact that the spirit-tempering pill was a 7th grade pill, the purple dawn dream lotus was also an extremely rare treasure. Naturally, its effects would not be bad. Is the white lion still asleep? Bailey Hongzhuang looked not far away. Sure enough, the white lion was still asleep. The Qilin lion's level is not low. Its bloodline power must be very strong. The white lion will not be able to absorb its power to complete its evolution in a short period of time, Deep Beichun said slowly. It seems that we will have to stay here for a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Ying and the others probably don't know what we are doing. Previously, they only planned to stay here for a day, so they did not inform them at all. They did not expect something like this to happen. Master, you can go out. The three of us will stay here and guard the white lion. Nothing will happen, Xiao He said. There is the aura of the Qilin lion here, and now there is the aura of the Beast King. As long as it is not a brainless demonic beast, it will not be able to come here, Xiao Bai added. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun looked at each other and said, Then let's go out first. Deep Beichun thought about it and nodded, okay. Their most important goal in coming to Rome and city this time was to find out who sent the assassins to attack them. Before they figured this out, they could not be at ease at all. Only by figuring out who the opponent was could they be prepared. They did not want to run around blindly like a fly. That was not what they wanted. Master, you can go out without worry, Xiao Xuanzi smiled. We can use the Yuan energy here to improve our strength. Xiao He Xuanzi, Xiao He, the weakest among the demonic beasts. Now that it had been suppressed by everyone, it wanted to improve its strength as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichun smiled faintly. They also understood Xiao Xuanzi's thoughts. Hey Beichun, was Hey Hongzhuang Hey? Noticing the sudden change in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Deep Beichun could not help but ask, Wife, what's wrong? It seems that the white dragon has awakened. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Ever since she brought the white dragon out of the dark ruins, it had been in a coma. Later, she also checked on the white dragon's condition. Because the damage was not small, it needed some time to recover. If the white dragon had not saved her and brought her to the upper realm, she would have died.